I'm a gun-toting patriot, God-bearing patriot. Pricing why they mad, cause I'm real and they be faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it. Gun-toting, Bible reading, God believing, truth speaking American. This MAGA season, Democrats committing treason. I know they think it's sweet, but you don't know who you dealing with. This for free thinkers only, you ain't got no membership. They free, General Flynn, out the cage, cause he innocent. Martin Roger Stone, cause the run know that he innocent. We need to kick out every single illegal immigrant. Mandatory voter ID laws we need to implement. Tell Justin Smollett that I know this MAGA country. Tell China we know they trying to play us like some dummies. I looked deep into it and I did the math. Why did Obama send money to that Wuhan lab? What is George Soros doing with all of his cash? Why did China take that Harvard guy and drop him a bag? Why is there so much propaganda funny, you ask? How about that Bill Gates vaccine? Now, sorry I'll pass, cause I'm a gun-toting patriot, God-bearing patriot. Pricing why they mad, cause I'm real and they be faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it. Gun-toting patriot, God-bearing patriot. Pricing why they mad, cause I'm real and they be faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it.
I'm Elbridge Gerry. I was a merchant, revolutionary, and eventually vice president. By 1776, it was clear to me the British Crown had no intention of treating us as equals, so I voted for liberty. I was a Harvard man and politically sharpened by Samuel Adams. When British troops marched on Lexington, I was nearly seized at Menotomy Tavern, escaping into a cornfield in my nightclothes. A less than dignified moment, I confess. I joined the Second Continental Congress in 1776 and made a full-time job of asking tough questions and annoying British sympathizers. Years later, during the Constitutional Convention, I helped broker the Great Compromise, the one that gave us the House and the Senate split. Later, I served as governor of Massachusetts, but history, alas, is not always fair. In 1812, a redistricting bill passed under my governorship, fashioned to favor my party. Though I found it highly disagreeable, I signed it. And one district, a contorted serpent of a map, was likened to a mythological salamander. The cartoonist dubbed it a gerrymander. So now the term gerrymandering lives on, named after me, mispronounced ever since. Let my legacy instead be tied to a quote I still believe. It is the duty of every man, though he may have but one day to live, to devote that day to the good of his country.
So how fast do you surf, Shannon?
Up to 100 miles per hour.
Hey, Shannon, Poopy said he doesn't believe you.
Oh, I'm mad now.
Yeah.
That hurts.
You need to get Poopy's meter?
Yeah, Poopies is the one way left. Way left.
Poopy's meter is asking for it.
Calm down. What up this side, Shannon? Leave the rookies alone.
He only has one ball and you hit it.
You gotta get that middle one.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I'm not hit.
Oh, one man standing.
Chest up, chest up.
Chest up.
Yeah.
Make sure I get up here. Oh God, that's so fucking right on. Oh, thank you, Shane.
Way to go.
Oh,
What the hell?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Unrelenting Political Corner. You know, I always got something dumb to show you guys. Just to,
What was going through your brain when you decided to play that? You said, "Hey, I think it's gonna be funny to start off the show with."
I love it. I love it. It gives you guys time. This is the excuse I'm always going to use. It gives you guys time to enter the chat. All right, guys, because you should all be here ready at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh my god, that was hilarious. Hey, I want to say real quick, John, I texted you the link to the StreamYard in our text messages.
Yeah.
So,
And I could also post it in the chat just to make it more convenient.
okay.
That works. And everybody, remember that we are streaming on both of our channels. So if you're on Jimmy's or mine, you might not see the whole chat. So, hop around and find which chat you want to be in. But okay, there he goes. I am so
Well,
excited for tonight.
awesome. Well, welcome everybody to the Unrelenting Political Corner. We're back, episode 3. I didn't pull many notes tonight, and Ruby's got a few things that she has.
Yeah, we're gonna do updates, and then we're gonna let John come up and do his thing, and then later on we're gonna it's gonna level up. We're gonna work our way up to the boiling point, and towards the end when we do like our conspiracy or like, when I go off the rails, that's when we're gonna have the most fun because I have a couple of things that I gotta rant about. My eyes have been opening up. You know how I always tell you we have multiple awakenings, and little by little, I got this new job, so now my schedule's different. My lifestyle's a little different now. You know what I mean? Like things are changing for me. I've never used to see the world in this type of way before.
Yep.
So, I just moved and I'm in a new neighborhood. It's a new city. I noticed people knocking on my door, and I'm like, "Why are you knocking on my door?" So there's a whole rant that we have to get into it. And like I always say, it's not just political, it's society, it's culture, it's a mixture of things that for
Yes.
me it all comes together because it is the symptoms of a greater issue. And
Yeah.
my opinion is that we wouldn't have these symptoms if the root cause of the problem was never allowed to fester in the first place. So that's where it stems, and I blame this government, honestly.
Yeah.
Deep state. I know people have, a range of definitions for that, but deep down inside, it's the government. It's the government's fault, and I blame the government, and that's why I'm so anti-government, anti-Fed, anti-everything. I've used the word abolitionist before because if it was up to me, I would abolish everything and start from the beginning. Um, you know what I'm saying? Like I just it's when they say what radicalized you, right? And
Oh,
it,
I
it
know.
could be something as small as the moment I realized this, like the moment my eyes opened up to this, or the moment I became political, the moment I started voting, everything was clear to me, and how fake everything was,
Yep.
and
Yep.
how gullible of me to think that I could change something with a vote. Because honestly, I don't think we can change anything with voting anymore. But I'm not gonna get too riled up. We just
Yeah.
started streaming.
Yeah. Let's because I got some things I can say about that too, but we'll get into that later. So just to kind of give the viewers an idea of what we're going to try to do tonight, we got some homework that we need to address. That was from last week, so we want to recap that. Then we're going to have John come on, and John's going to talk about crypto and Bitcoin. The reason I thought that this would be a good idea to have him come on is because, well, Ruby, you said you don't know anything about it, right?
No, I don't. But I mean, I have opinions about it, but I want to let him speak first, get the information first, and then respectfully question. I tend to do that So depending on what he says, depending on the concepts of crypto, then I would love to, maneuver my way into questioning John to see his opinions on it.
Okay, cool. And then after we talk with John, we're going to play the video that I did today on my YouTube channel, talking about the posse comitatus stack, because that was part of our homework. And we're going to do that after, because it would take a little longer than, I was planning to have John on about 9:30. It might be a little bit before John, so just be prepared for that. And then Bo is supposed to come on. Bo Benson is supposed to come on a little later this evening around 10. And he said he had some things he wanted to talk about. So we'll see what he has to say. Then we'll go from there. And then right around 11 or so is probably where we're going to just go freestyle. And then close up about 12. So we're trying to, because of Ruby's schedule, we're trying to keep this to about 12 o'clock. So we'll go from there. So
Yeah.
I guess you want to go ahead and get into the homework? Go to our messenger page.
Yes. So let's
So
see.
if you remember last week, folks, I mentioned gutter oil. And I like the way Ruby prefaced this, that it's not just politics, because what we're really trying to do is talk a little bit about health stuff, talk a little bit about finance stuff, history, just a full buffet of different things that we can talk about on here, which all, like Ruby said, it does have its root causes and everything. So we can drill down to that. Speaking of buffet, did you see, and
Yeah.
what was that?
No, I was just laughing at JG's comment. He says that's so cool that y'all do homework for us. That's commitment. But I'm laughing because I didn't do nothing. It's Jimmy. So this is why I love having a second person, because I don't have to take the fall. I could be like, "Hey, Jimmy got this week." So thanks.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
there may come a time where I'm gonna be like message you on Friday, be like, Ruby, you better come up with something for Tuesday because I ain't got shit.
And you already know what I'm gonna come up with.
But what was I saying? Speaking of buffet, just
yeah,
something I saw. Did you see in Branson, Missouri, where McDonald's is trying out their first buffet for $12.99? You can do all you can eat, Big Macs, chicken nuggets, fries, everything.
No.
And I put on my Facebook, I just said sheep to the slaughter. Because these folks, if they're participating in that, they have no clue. If you're still eating at McDonald's, I don't know what to tell you. That place is disgusting. And when you see the gutter oil.
I have a confession to make.
You went to McDonald's?
Yeah.
Damn,
and
Ruby.
I know. And I was kicking myself going there, and I was literally telling my guy, like, no, let's not. Because we literally just had this conversation, but it was late at night, and it was just like that late night. And you see, these are the temptations, I'm telling you, with the devil sometimes, because I'm like, I mentally don't want to do it, but you're hungry, you have nowhere else to go, no food in the fridge to cook. And we went to McDonald's, and I said, I haven't eaten this in more than 10 years. Like, I have not eaten McDonald's. Like I told you guys, I get sick. So it's been a decade since we've eaten McDonald's, and we made the sacrifice like 2 nights ago. And yeah, that's my confession.
How'd you feel afterwards?
I mean,
okay?
I didn't get that sick. So it didn't really hurt me as much. But what hurt me more was the disappointment in myself. Like I was disappointed because I was like, I gave in. You sometimes give in. But yeah, it was just
if we're making confessions, I will go ahead and make a confession too. I haven't watched an NFL football game since 2020. So my confession is, yes, I did watch an NFL football game last Thursday night. I watched the Cowboys and the Eagles, and I was just like, I know I shouldn't be watching this, but there was so much hype built up for it. I was like, But the thing that I liked the best about it was when it was over. Yeah, Dallas lost. That's my team. I know we sucked for 30 years. You can save all the insults and everything, whatever. I know we suck. But at the end of the game, when it was over and they lost, I didn't find myself so wrapped up in it. And I didn't get
Right.
so emotional. But then I go over to Facebook or X, and I see all these videos of people just throwing a fit, smashing their TVs. Even when college football happened, the people in Alabama, oh my God, they were pissed. And I was
Yeah.
just sitting there thinking, I was like, I'm so glad I'm not emotionally invested in that stuff like I used to be.
Yeah.
So
Well, you
that's
know
my
what?
confession.
Well, you know what? The only upside to it was that while we're eating it, I am educating the kids and being like, listen, this is a once in a blue moon thing. Don't think this is going to be in every, because they've never eaten McDonald's like that either. You know what I'm saying? It's been
Oh,
years.
wow.
So we were just telling them, look, this was just there was no other choice basically. This is the closest thing, the cheapest thing. There's no, food to cook because we usually cook. So it was an educational moment while
Well,
we're eating the garbage.
with that said, let's go ahead and play the 2 clips of the gutter oil that I sent you on Messenger.
Okay, guys, so let's go to Jimmy's page.
It's actually
All
on
right.
mine and your Messenger page. I'm
Right,
Facebook
right. But
Messenger.
I'm also on your page because I just want to give a quick shout out to you. If anybody wants to follow Jimmy, follow him on Facebook. He shares all this kind of stuff. And he has a bunch, he has like what? Look at that, 430 something friends on there. So if you're interested in
Used to be
keeping up with
more.
Jimmy, just follow him on Facebook.
Used to be a lot
Okay.
more until I got banned.
Yeah, well, I think it's actually a good thing for you because you're more that type of a person, in my opinion, than I am. Because I know a lot of people send me requests, so I'm just putting it a friendly reminder out there. I do not use Facebook for public stuff, so I'm not gonna accept any requests. But Jimmy is the guy for you. He shares this kind of stuff, and he, friends people on there. But all right, let's go to the DMs. So this was the gutter oil that you were talking about. Now, can you remind me the context of this? You were saying that this is the oil that they use to fry in their country, or is this the oil that they sell us?
I think it originated in China, but I do believe, I think in the video it mentions that it's happening here in the United States too.
That they're doing the same kind of practices, or are they
Yes.
buying
Yes.
this oil from the? Okay, okay.
Yeah. Kind of both. Both.
Oh, really? Okay, so let's watch it.
Yeah. Just watch videos and then we'll discuss. And then we'll bring John on. We'll go from gutter oil to crypto.
All right, let's see if the sound okay.
9% of Americans go crazy for it. But once you see how it's actually made, I bet you'll never want to eat it again. It's called gutter oil. The raw materials for this oil come from places you'd never imagine. Restaurant slop buckets full of leftovers, black greasy water from sewers, and oily waste scraped from the bottom of trash bins. To some people, this is liquid gold. Workers scoop up this disgusting mixture with buckets and pour it into large pots to heat. As the temperature rises, the grease floats to the surface, and they skim it off layer by layer. Then it's filtered, settled, and mixed with chemical powders to cover the stench. Just like that, foul black water turns into crystal clear cooking oil. And this is exactly what makes your fried chicken and French fries taste so delicious. Finally, it's packed into plastic containers and sold cheap to restaurants and street vendors. Crispy fried chicken, golden French fries, mouth-watering snacks. Behind them might be nothing more than gutter oil. The scariest part? It looks almost identical to regular cooking oil, making it impossible to tell by the naked eye. What you think is tasty could actually be toxins slowly destroying your body. So next time you buy fried food from a street stall, you might want to think twice.
All right. Let's do the next one.
Okay, sorry about that. That was really disgusting.
You're welcome.
Okay. No. Is this the next video? Okay,
It
it
was
is.
right. It was back to back.
Okay. Okay.
One-tenth of the oil used to cook in China is called gutter oil. That's right. Gutter oil is cooking oil made from the recycling of the slop that comes from sewage. And in many Chinese restaurants, the runoff oil into the septic system. Research shows that it's commonly used in restaurants and street vendors in China, but can be very deadly. But one would hope with all the Chinese restaurants popping up around the capital, this does not happen. Well, that was short-lived until Chinese living here and working at local restaurants were actually caught and recorded performing what looked like the same procedure as seen in this video on a documentary of a woman who makes money from collecting the waste for recycling. Recently, 2 videos went viral on social media of 2 different Chinese restaurants in Nassau allegedly following the same process. One shows what appears to be an oil container with a funnel to collect the slop from the sewer. Both persons were caught in the act at early periods of the day when hardly anyone would be.
All right. So there's the homework on gutter oil, folks. Just bringing it to your attention. You can look more into it on your own if you feel like it. But what'd you think, Ruby?
Okay, so I normally wouldn't compare us to China, right? Because China, they got their own laws, their own system, everything, right? So who am I to judge or have an opinion about them, right? That's just me. But why are we doing that in America if that's the case? I don't know if that's actually being done here. I mean, we've only seen this in the, China perspective, but why would America ever be doing that? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, like you said, you got the folks that have immigrated from China and started up their little, areas, their own little restaurants and things like that. So if that is part of something that they're used to doing, why wouldn't they?
Mm.
Why wouldn't they continue to do something like that?
Okay, I get it. I got it.
So
That makes sense.
I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not saying it's happening, but let's say there's what Chinatown in San Francisco and Chinatown in New York.
Yeah, everywhere. Yep.
Is this something they're doing there? We don't know. We're not saying that they are, but we should be aware of what we are putting in our bodies.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of shocked that I missed that while I was watching it because I was thinking, well, they do that in their country. Who am I to like,
Yeah.
say, oh, don't do that. I mean, that's you, you know? But we're here. We are in the West. We are Americans. Like there's no need to do something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand if there's an element, right? Poverty or third world country or a culture issue or something like that's I would understand it, right? But not here. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
I would not
unfortunately,
expect that here.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, like we were talking about last week, we were talking about polysorbate 80 and all these different things that are put into American food, whereas over in Europe, those products are banned in Europe and they actually don't have all that stuff in their food over there. So
Right.
they may not be using, we don't know, but they may not be using gutter oil here in the United States on a significant basis, but it ties in with the fact that we don't know what's in our foods. And, if you're paying attention to Maha and RFK, you're starting to find out a lot of these things that have been in our foods that have been harming us for so long. And of course, that goes into also those things, but we're not going to talk
Mm-hmm.
about that tonight. So I just wanted to bring those videos out because I mentioned them last week and I wanted to follow through for you guys, the viewers. So let us know what you think in the chat about gutter oil.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Jimmy. And I see Jerica in the comments. She totally gets me. I brought up some of her comments. She's on the same page with me, so I'm glad at least somebody understands because I was kind of like that point almost skipped me if it wasn't for Jimmy. um, so we have our special guest
Yes, go ahead and
backstage.
bring John on.
All right, so I'm gonna bring him up. Everybody, welcome John to the stage.
What's
Hey
up, my
y'all.
brother?
If these eyes look tired, it's because they are. I'm here because I love Jimmy, and he asked me to come on to talk about this. Now, Ruby, to your point, I'm not going to present a position on crypto or Bitcoin or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about what it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to work, the problem that does exist, whether or not you think that crypto or Bitcoin or anything like that is the solution. That's fine. But it is attempting to solve the problem. And true to my nature, I'm going to get right into it. First of all, the problem. The problem is fiat currency. So officially, the United States got off the gold standard in 1971. For those who don't know what that is, and I don't know if y'all have talked about this on the show or not, but just in case someone doesn't know what that is, in the past, every dollar was like an IOU. You could bring it to a bank, and in return, in exchange for that dollar, they were supposed to give you a certain amount of gold. Every dollar was worth a certain amount of gold. Now, that officially ended with Nixon in 1971, but it actually unofficially stopped in 1933 because gold was confiscated from United States citizens. At that point, it was no longer legal to hold. And therefore, what ended up happening was from 1933 forward, it's trust me, bro. You just have to trust that the federal government actually has all the gold that they claim to have, but there's no way to audit this. There's no way to know for sure. And most people think they didn't really have it. But in 1971, they quit pretending to have it with Nixon when we got off the gold standard. So that meant at that point, the US dollar became what's called fiat currency. Fiat means by decree, which again, it means trust me, bro. It only has value because we say it does. That's it. Well, technically, it is backed by the US military and it's backed by law enforcement because try not paying your taxes in US dollars and see what happens. So there is an enforcement behind it, but it only has value because everyone agrees that it does and thinks that it does. There's a lot of problems with this, though. In the past, World War I, World War II, in order to fight a war, you had to issue war bonds as a government that the citizenry had to be willing to purchase to fund the war. If people did not agree with the war, they would not buy the bonds. The government did not have the money to fight the war. They had to give it up. They couldn't do it. Once currency became fiat, it was backed by nothing, which means that the government, whether it's US government or any other government, because every government uses fiat currency now, they could press a button, instantly create money, and do whatever they want. Now, here's the problem with that. There are multiple problems with that. But the biggest problem with that is now, let's say there are only $1,000 in existence in the world, right? Let me back up for a second. Let's talk about basic supply and demand. Let's say that you live in a town where there are 10 of a specific kind of car that is in hot demand. Thousands of people want this car, but there's only 10 of them that are available for purchase. What happens to the price of the car? The supply is low, the demand is high, the price goes up. But let's say that the reverse is true, that there were thousands of these cars, but only 10 people wanted to buy them. Now it's reversed. The supply is high, the demand is low, so the price drops to meet demand. There's no difference with the US dollar or any other kind of currency. The more dollars in existence, the less each dollar is worth. This is a problem for this reason, because the dollar is not backed by gold. Now, if you had to go dig up gold for every dollar that you created, every dollar is worth the same, no matter how many dollars there are, because you have enough gold to back it up, and you had to go through the trouble, the expense, the effort to mine the gold to back the dollar. So every dollar still has value. Now, press a button, instantly create more dollars. So back to the other analogy. Let's say that the United States had $1,000 in existence and that was it. Let's say that you earned $1 a day at your job. Over the course of time, after paying your bills, whatever, you save $10 in the bank. That's 10 days worth of your work. That's all money is. It is a representative value of work. It's just easier to trade. In the past, if you made rocking chairs and somebody else grew potatoes, well, how do you exchange potatoes for rocking chairs? You only need so many potatoes. You don't need enough rocking chairs. And what happens when the potatoes rot? Now they're not worth money anymore. They're not worth anything anymore. How do you trade that equally? It was hard to do in the bartering system. So the dollar was invented to represent a certain amount of work. Whether you make rocking chairs or whether you grow potatoes, it's worth a certain amount of work. And it's up to the market to decide how much each of those things is worth as they trade the dollars for various items and commodities, right? That's how it used to be. And then dollars came along, they were backed by gold, everything was fine. Now, government presses a button, they can print more dollars. So there's $1,000 in existence in the United States, you earn $1 a day. You've saved $10 in the bank, it's $10, 10 days of your work you have saved. The government decides it wants to fight a war. Now they don't have to issue bonds in the hope that you'll buy them to back their goal of fighting this war. Now they press the button, they instantly create more money out of thin air. Now instead of $1,000 in existence, there are $2,000, and they take the other $1,000 to go fight the war. The problem with that is they have doubled the money supply, but the amount of work has not changed, which cuts the value of each dollar in half. Not instantly, but fairly quickly over time. If you doubled the money supply, that would happen. That's inflation. So now your $10 in the bank is no longer worth 10 days of your work. It's worth 5 days of your work because they have cut the value of each dollar in half. So they stole from you without asking you by simply printing more money. Inflation is theft. That's what it is. It's unlegislated taxation. That's what inflation is. Here's another analogy. You have a house, you have a basement, you have an attic, you have all the little knickknacks and things that you have saved and that are all over your house. Imagine someone came into your home every year and stole 2% of the stuff in your house. At first, you may not notice, a knickknack here, a clock there, but eventually you're going to start looking around and be like, where's all my stuff? 2%. The Fed's target inflation rate is 2%. They are saying, in effect, we are trying to only steal from you 2% of your value every year. How nice of us to limit it to 2% theft every year. Well, the problem is, theoretically, if the government had any kind of self-restraint, fiat wouldn't really be a problem. As long as they kept the money supply consistent, it wouldn't be that big of an issue. But give a money printer to a politician and see what happens, right? So there's no restraint because they're just going to keep. If you had a printer at your house that you could literally print dollars with, and it was now, you knew every time you printed another one, it robbed everyone else in your neighborhood of a tiny fraction. You would find all kinds of ways to justify your need to use that printer for whatever reason. That's human nature. You're going to justify, I need to print some money. It's for a good cause. I'm going to do it. Yes, that good cause is my Ferrari, but it's a good cause, so I'm going to do it. You're going to find a way to justify that. That makes sense. Okay, that's a problem because you are stealing other people's money every time you print more. This is where crypto, specifically Bitcoin, comes into play. The problem is the centralization of control over money. So the Fed, which was created in 1913, which is a total con. The Fed is, they're con artists is what they are. They control interest rates, inflation, all that kind of thing, right? So they're the ones who are setting the target theft inflation every year. In 2008, it became painfully clear that there is zero restraint by the Fed and by the US government and all other governments in the world. They're going to just do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it to bail out their buddies. That's what they're going to do. So Bitcoin was born at that time. It is said by an individual, Satoshi Nakamoto, who finally solved the problem that's known as the double spend problem. With digital money, the problem always was, how do you prevent someone from spending the same dollar or Bitcoin or whatever in two places at the same time? Well, Satoshi Nakamoto figured out how to do this using a mechanism called proof of work. I'm not going into detail about that. That's way too technical. Just let's say they solved the problem. Now, anyone can have a bank at home. It's called a node. It can run on your home computer. You can go get the software, install it now. You can verify every transaction in the ledger. Now, you don't know the name of the person who spent the money, but you can verify that it was properly spent and was not double spent. You can audit it anytime you want, all by yourself on your home computer. It's easy. There are tens of thousands of these nodes running all over the world. Now, if you want to try to monkey with the system, if you want to try to be the Fed and change the way the money works, it's not centralized anymore. So if you change your system, all the other nodes will reject your transaction because it does not fit the algorithm that all the others run on. So you have to convince everyone else to harm themselves by allowing you to modify the system for your advantage. What are the odds of you being able to do that, given that this is an extremely geopolitical, diverse series of nodes running all over the world? You're not going to get everyone to agree with you. Therefore, your transactions are going to be rejected because you can't convince people to harm themselves for your benefit with no good reason. Whereas the Fed, they don't ask your permission. The US government doesn't ask your permission. They just do what they want. You have no control. They steal from you because inflation is theft. That's the basic premise of the first successful, truly successful cryptocurrency. There have been other tries like e-gold prior, but none of that's important. Bitcoin was the first one that truly figured out how to solve the problem. Now, some people would say, well, why don't we just use gold? Gold has some problems. Let's move the US currency away, fiat currency for now, and say in the past, people use gold as a means of exchange. Gold is great for a few reasons. One, it lasts forever. You can put a gold bar in a safe in your house for 1,000 years. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to change form. It's not going to tarnish. It's not going to deteriorate. It's still gold. It's still going to be as valuable 1,000 years from now as it is today. Gold is very difficult to find and mine. So there's a lot of work involved to create the inflation of producing more gold. One of the oldest currencies was a certain kind of seashell. But if you can find a whole bunch of these, suddenly your seashells are no longer worth anything. A famous example was in Africa, they used glass beads. But when the Europeans found out that the Africans were using glass beads, they knew how to manufacture glass. So they manufactured a ton of glass beads, brought them to Africa, bought everything, created massive inflation and bankrupted everybody else, which is effectively what the Fed is doing by printing funny money. Gold solved that problem, but gold is very difficult to secure. It's expensive to secure. If you have a safe with gold in it, don't you dare tell anybody, because, you know, someone could come in your house, they could steal it at gunpoint, whatever. And it's hard to transfer. How do you get gold overseas? It's heavy. It has to be secured. It's just very tough to transfer. Third problem with gold, how do you make gold divisible enough to buy a candy bar at the grocery store? And how would you weigh the tiny fraction of gold dust that you need to buy small items with gold? So gold is a good store of value, but it's a poor currency for those reasons. Bitcoin and post-Bitcoin, other cryptos sought to solve that problem because Bitcoin is easily transferable. Typically in about 10 minutes, you can send it all over the world. Doesn't cost hardly anything to do that with. Go to a bank and try to send an international wire, and you'll see how much that costs. It's very expensive. Even a domestic wire, if you're sending $100 or $100 million, it's still going to cost you $30 to send that wire, which for $100, it's eating up 30% of the money you're trying to send. For a huge transaction, it's not that big of a deal, but for a small one, extremely expensive. Bitcoin solved that problem. And you're at the mercy of the bank. What if the bank shuts down? What if the bank decides that you are a criminal and they're going to lock your funds and now you can't have access to it? What if you have the wrong political ideology and the bank decides you're a threat? Suddenly you don't own your money. You no longer own your money. Bitcoin, all you need is what's called the seed phrase, some words that represent a cryptographic value. And it's just easier for us to memorize words or put them on a metal plate or something that's, will last like that, or on a small digital device. And now you are your own bank. You don't need anybody's permission. It's decentralized. No bank can stop you from transferring money. Let's say you live in a country and you are considered a political dissident. They lock all your accounts. Good luck getting out of there, right? But if all your wealth is in a digital currency like Bitcoin, you can get on a plane with your memorized seed words with no digital device at all, go overseas, your wealth travels with you because it's in your head. And now you get a new device, you put your seed words in, all your money is still yours. You are your own bank. You cannot be stopped, right? You can't be silenced, your money can't be stolen, or it's very difficult to do. Some people could still threaten you or whatever, but it's a lot harder. It's easier to secure, it's easy to transfer. It has a real value because Bitcoin uses what's called proof of work, which like gold requires mining. They call it Bitcoin mining. It uses an enormous amount of energy, which some people think is a problem, other people do not. But it's backed by something real, by energy. Human psyche needs the money to be backed by something real for human beings to see it as truly valuable. That's just the nature of our psychology. So that's basically how Bitcoin works. There are some other things. I took notes. I told you, Jimmy. Let me see. Let me pull up here. There are other issues. Oh, centralized points of failure. What happens if the bank system fails? All your money's gone. Bitcoin, decentralized. If some of the nodes fail, there's still others all over the world. It's very hard to take the whole system out at once. So that's a benefit. Cross-border payments, far less expensive to send money overseas. No one can stop you from sending it overseas. So if you're making remittances back to your home country or whatever to help your family, it's not costing you an arm and a leg every time you do that. So that's a benefit. Financial inclusion. There's a huge number of people that are unbanked because, like, for instance, in Nigeria, the banking system is extremely corrupt. And so how do you, as a citizen, rely on a system like that that's as corrupt as it is? Well, you don't have to if you are your own bank. You can just cut them out of the equation altogether. So that's a benefit. It's cryptographically secured. It's decentralized. It uses proof of work. It's immutable. And that can be a bad thing too. Once you spend Bitcoin, there are no refunds unless the person out of the kindness of their heart decides to send it back to you. So like one advantage of the banking fiat system is, let's say that you spend money to buy something and that person does not send you that thing. Well, the bank can reverse the transaction and give you your money back. You cannot do that with an immutable system like Bitcoin or some of the other cryptos. So if you spend money and they don't send you your stuff, now, I mean, obviously there could be enforcement, but what if you bought something from Temu or something overseas? How are you going to go enforce to get your $30 back? It's incredibly difficult to do that. There is no chargeback. There is no reversing of the transaction. And what if you lose the ledger, the little device, or forget your seed phrases? This has happened. People have lost enormous amounts of money because, you know, they bought some Bitcoin 10 years ago, didn't think it was really worth anything. Now suddenly it's $120,000 or whatever a coin. They could be billionaires, but they're not because they can't remember the phrase. That's a problem. Can you imagine how upsetting that would be? That's an issue. Now, those things are getting easier and better if you go through an exchange. The biggest one in the United States is probably Coinbase. And I mentioned that to you earlier, Jimmy.
Yeah.
You can store your crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or something else, with a third party. But now there's the trust problem returns. Now they are the bank. They are the centralized location. What if they decide you're a threat? What if they go bankrupt and go under? There's a saying with Bitcoin, not your keys, not your coins. If you don't control it, you don't really own it. You're at somebody else's mercy. So that kind of defeats the purpose of the whole decentralized currency if you're storing it in what is the equivalent of a bank with someone else. Now, it's okay to do a little bit of that if you're a trader, right? If you're trading Bitcoin or crypto or whatever to make a profit, well, maybe you're parking some of it there to trade. And, you know, these are established companies, they're insured, they're trustworthy enough for you to do a little bit of that. But the hardcore crypto person would never put a significant portion of their crypto parked at any exchange like that. So that's an issue. All right, hang on, more notes. I told you I'm tired. Oh, another advantage. Banks are closed on the weekends. What if you need to buy something on the weekend? Well, you can spend your crypto at any point, at any time, at all whatsoever. If you need to transfer money, you know how slow SWIFT is? SWIFT is the system that creates transactions between banks, whether it's nationally or internationally. To send an international wire, first of all, it's going to cost you ridiculous amounts of money. And it's going to take 3 to 5 business days to get there. And there's no guarantee it's actually going to get there. You have to trust every bank that it hops along the way that they're going to do the right thing. The concept of Bitcoin and crypto is no trust is necessary because the system is agnostic. It does not care who is doing what. It's just following the rules that are laid out in the code. And with Bitcoin, it would get there in 10 minutes. With other cryptos like XRP, which is known for being very fast, it would get there in 3 to 5 seconds with near zero cost. And then it arrives and you can park it at an exchange and swap it to the local currency and pull out the cash into your bank account or however you want to do it. Or if you have vendors that take crypto directly, you can pay people directly with cryptocurrencies, which is getting more and more common. It's still not super common, but it's much more common. Like in El Salvador, Bitcoin is considered one of the national currencies. So you can spend it at any location and they'll take it as they would the local currency. And you see more and more of that as people trust the financial system less and less, and with good reason. So those are some of the benefits of using Bitcoin or other crypto. There are problems, especially with smaller ones. They call them casino coins because there's so much fraud. There are so many sharks in these waters. You need to be careful. If you're gonna put your toe in the water, I would only use one of the top 10 biggest cryptocurrencies by actual market cap value, because those aren't going anywhere. They're not run by these little fraudsters who are trying to, just take your money, pump and dump the coins, and then run off with it. Bitcoin is the safest because it's by far the largest in terms of market cap. So those are some of the benefits and some of the negatives of crypto. What they call Bitcoin maxis, the guys who think that Bitcoin is the only crypto that has any value and everything else, they call them shit coins, which I think is funny. They think everything else is garbage. Bitcoin is the king. Nothing else should be used but Bitcoin. I get it. I'm not going to state a position on it. I get where they're coming from. There are a lot of sharks in the water. They say that eventually Bitcoin will be the only money because once small nations start to adopt it, which is already happening. The Congo is one, El Salvador is another. You already see lots of it used unofficially in African countries where their financial systems are woefully corrupt. I mean, ours is bad, but it's stable enough that you go to a bank, you can get your money. Like, you don't have to really worry about that in the United States, but there's a lot of countries you really do have to worry about that. Then you've got countries where inflation is insane. Ours is bad enough, but think hundreds of % inflations a year. And now your money's worth nothing very quickly. If you park it in something that's rising consistently in value, then it preserves your wealth. And so people are turning to those kinds of things. There are problems, of course, with programmatic money. Like the CDBCs, you may have heard that. Central bank digital currencies, I'm 100% against those, because imagine your money being digital. And I mean, seriously, who trusts these people? I know y'all don't. Imagine them deciding that if you've bought as much beef as we're going to allow you to buy this month, now we're not going to let you buy anymore. If you go and try, it's declined. That's the problem with the central bank digital currency. Now, if we go back to the problem with social credit, if we don't like what you're doing, we're going to turn off the ability for you to spend your money. Decentralization is absolutely necessary. Do not buy into anything that is not decentralized. And as of right now, Bitcoin is by far the most decentralized. There are others that are decentralized. XRP is pretty well decentralized. HBAR, to some degree, decentralized. So that's the basic how it works, what it's for, the problem it's attempting to solve, which I think is a real problem that needs solving. You can argue amongst yourself whether or not you think that it's a true solution. There's lots of theories about it. Did Satoshi Nakamoto really do it? Some people claim it was the CIA. Some people claim that it's all just, another part of the system that's rigged in favor of whoever, whatever. But that's how it works. That's the problem it's meant to solve. I hope that made sense.
Absolutely, John. Sorry, Ruby, you want me to go ahead for a second?
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I appreciate that. I wanted you to be you were the only person I could think of that could explain that in a basic 101 session, a first session. I did have one question. You mentioned, you said Bitcoin was backed by energy.
Yes.
Can you expound on that a little bit more?
Here's how it works. Bitcoin is temporarily inflationary. Temporarily. You have what's called a Bitcoin miner, which is, you could do this at home, but be prepared to have a very high electricity bill. They use machines that solve problems. And if you can solve the problem's equations fast enough, you might discover a Bitcoin. Now, there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin, period. That's it. That's what the code allows for, never anymore. And it gets harder and harder and harder to mine Bitcoin to find a new one at every halving, which happens about once every 4 years. And when it cuts the amount you will mine in half whenever you successfully solve this problem. So people have these stacks of computers trying to solve these problems constantly, which requires enormous amounts of energy because they use highly specialized computer chips, processors, that are solving these problems. They're built to solve these problems, but it's expensive. Just like mining gold is and should be expensive because that prevents it from being very inflationary. The same thing is true of Bitcoin. The difference between Bitcoin and gold is once it hits its max, which is over 100 years from now, programmatically, there will never be any more. And then it becomes deflationary because as Bitcoin grows in value, there's no more. It's got scarcity. So there will never be any more. And as adoption continues to grow, every Bitcoin becomes more valuable, assuming, of course, that people continue to see it as valuable. But it works off of game theory, which has worked amazingly well over the last 15, 16 years. Because if you look at what a Bitcoin was worth in 2009, which was a tiny fraction of 1 penny for a whole Bitcoin, and as of today, it's like $112,000 a coin or whatever, clearly it's working. And as more adoption happens, more people jump ship, fear of missing out, FOMO, 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 and it grows in value. More miners, more energy. It's backed by something real because it requires so much power to create or find the next Bitcoin, and people are competing to find it. And the more people are competing to find it, the system automatically makes it harder to find. So it maintains a fixed inflationary rate until every Bitcoin is finally discovered something like 100 years from now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. There's a show that I watch. It's called And We Know. You can find it on Rumble. And this guy, he basically, goes through all the political stuff, everyday happenings and everything. But about once every 4 to 6 weeks, he has this guru of a guy that does financial stuff. So if you are busy 4 to 5 weeks, 4 to 6, hey, if you got something else to add to this, I'd love to have you back on to add more for the audience, because I'm sure the audience has had some questions so far. Ruby, have you seen anything in there yet?
Yes, I starred about 3 of them, and I'm kind of shocked because Jimmy, your question was the exact one that I had. I was literally going to say the exact same thing. But this one is a good one.
I do
Go
want
ahead.
to talk just a little bit about inflation and the severe problem with inflation and the financialization of the U.S. economy and the world economy. There are 2 schools of economics. There's Austrian economics, which is sound money, something backed by something, like real value, real supply and demand. And then there's the economics that are very popular with governments, which is called Keynesian economics, which is where the inflation and all this nonsense comes from. Keynesian economics postulates that you have to have inflation, because if you didn't have inflation, people would just save their money and they wouldn't spend it, and it would slow economic growth, which there's a marginal bit of truth to that, but it's also stupid because people would have to still buy things, food, clothes, home, whatever. People aren't just going to sit on all their money and starve. Like, that's not how people like nice things. If they have money, they want to spend it, but they are more incentivized to save. And here's why: because money should be deflationary, not inflationary. Let me give you an example. In 1980, a cup of coffee, not the Starbucks over sugar garbage, but a regular cup of coffee, you could buy for about 50 cents. Sorry, Starbucks lovers, about 50 cents. Today, that same cup of coffee at a diner, again, we're not talking lattes, just a cup of coffee, costs about $3. 6 times, 600% inflation. Now that's bad enough, but the supply chain for coffee is 80 times more efficient today than it was in 1980. Supply chain efficiency has boosted productivity astronomically. That cup of coffee should cost 5 cents today, not $3, because of the growth in technology and supply chain efficiency. Inflation outpaces technological deflation in most areas, not all. Like TVs, my first flat screen TV was like $2,000, and it was a piece of garbage compared to today. You can get something vastly better for $150 today than you could get when I got my first one almost 20 years ago, right? So clothing, generally it depends, generally outpaces inflation with technology. Most things do not. And so most things get much more expensive in comparison to no matter how good the supply chain efficiency gets. That's another problem with inflation. But it's by design, my opinion, because if you are constantly struggling to keep your head above water, if you are constantly running on the hamster wheel of making ends meet, what can you not do? You can't retire, which means that you will be working for the corporation that wants your cheap labor until you die. You have no choice but to do that. A few people who are smart and savvy, invest, that kind of thing, they can get out of that loop, but most people never do. And that's by design. That's why governments, politicians, wealthy people love Keynesian economics, because it keeps the little guy enslaved. Another reason why is it allows them to financialize everything. Finances should be super simple. Economics should be super simple. Technology gets better. Supply chains get more efficient because technology gets better. Every dollar you don't spend and put in the bank gets more valuable over time because everything gets more efficient as technology improves and the market competition forces companies to compete with each other by making things cheaper, by getting more efficient. Therefore, as you get older, you have all this money saved. Now it's worth vastly more than it was when you first earned it. You get to retire. That's how economics should work. You introduce Keynesian economics. That's Austrian economics. You introduce Keynesian economics. Now, it doesn't work that way. You're on the hamster wheel all the time. For all of history, Austrian economics was the way things worked, which means there was very little, sometimes zero inflation and sometimes deflation. And so things stayed relatively the same price for decades or 100 years or more. But that all changed with the Fed in Keynesian economics. It is a slavery trap. That is what it is. We have a debt-based economy now rather than an asset-based economy now. And therefore, you become a slave to debt, which is why credit scores work the way they do. Banks want you enslaved to debt. If you are not in debt, you have no credit. So when you want to buy something, you can't because you can't get credit because you're not in debt. The person who should be the most creditworthy is the one who pays for everything in cash and has no debt at all. But that is not what banks want. They want you to be in debt so they can make interest and continue to profit off of your debt slavery. That's why things like crypto, finally, when cryptographers finally figured out how to solve the double spend problem and were sick to death of the mismanagement done by the Fed and other institutions like it, that's its goal. That's its purpose. Now, you could argue whether or not that's going to come to fruition or it's going to get adopted or conscripted or whatever. I'm not here to argue one way or the other, but that's its purpose. That's what they're trying to achieve if you believe the Puritans are actually correct. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many different roads we can take in what you just said, especially by, tying this to the political environments of 1913 and compare it to what we're seeing today and how all that fits together. But yeah, we have to save that for that's a whole nother conversation there.
One last thing, Jimmy, I saw a comment and I may have misread it, so I apologize if I misread it, about someone who's saying that Bitcoin was used by criminals for like money laundering, trafficking, that kind of thing. I get that thinking, but there is nothing on planet Earth that allows criminals to do their thing more than the US dollar, which is untraceable. There's no ledger. You can't audit it. Like nothing. There is no comparison between how Bitcoin has been used illicitly, which it has, and I'm not going to argue that it hasn't, in comparison to the way fiat currency has been used. So to me, that argument doesn't hold water. It just doesn't. That's the narrative you will hear from governments because they don't want you to be outside of their system. They want you to use only their government's currency or whatever. They want you to remain in the Keynesian debt slavery. It's valid in a sense that, yes, it does happen and I agree that we should try to prevent that. But you can't use that as an argument for using fiat currency because fiat is vastly worse than any crypto ever was, especially Bitcoin.
I was just sitting here thinking, if media wanted to get information out to the American people and educate folks about Bitcoin, they could easily do that, right? That they could do that if they wanted to, because they'll push stories and within a week, everybody feels like they're an expert on that story. But you don't hear a lot of, in my opinion, I don't watch it a lot either, so I'm kind of biased here, but I don't see an effort from, let's say, the system to educate folks on this.
Well, I mean, seriously, Jimmy, they stopped teaching economics in schools decades ago.
Yeah.
If people understood how the system works, if they understood economics, if they understood inflation, if they understood Keynesian ideology, we would all be appalled. If the average American was taught how to run a business in school, who would work for the big mega corporations?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
there's a reason why people are ignorant of all these things. Now, today in the internet age, people's knowledge of this stuff is exploding. The Fed has become a meme. If you look, the Fed is a meme now. Everybody knows they're full of crap.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, like anyone who has spends any time online in any like honest forum knows it doesn't do what it claims, and they're just there to steal from you. Like, we know this now. Thank God for this knowledge coming out, which is why a lot of people are jumping ship, whether it's Bitcoin or other assets, gold, whatever. A lot of people are jumping into other things to try to find an off-ramp or a lifeboat out of the debt spiral that all countries are in. Historically, once any nation reaches 130% debt to GDP, you are now in a debt spiral that mathematically is almost impossible to escape. The US government is $37 trillion in debt. Now, the US government, our nation, has an enormous GDP. It can last a long time, but unless you turn off the money printer and reduce that debt, and there's no will to do that by any politician, good luck. You know, it's very hard to do that. You will not stop any fiat currency from going to zero eventually. It's like Weimar in Germany. They had wheelbarrows full of money to buy one loaf of bread. Yeah. Eventually that happens. Eventually that will happen to every fiat currency. It's just a matter of time because it's backed by nothing. And therefore, eventually the jig is up and it goes to zero. So all currency, if it's going to have value, it's got to be backed by something. And the minute we decide we no longer need to do that, now the incentive to print funny money is way too powerful. Your debt to GDP goes through the roof, and the debt spiral begins, and it eventually goes bust, and you've got to start all over again. It's a boom bust cycle. The average fiat currency lasts for 50 years, and then it's gone. Yeah. The US dollar has managed to last longer than that because of its military power and its incredible geopolitical influence, and the amount of oil. Because for a while, it was considered a petrodollar. So it had some kind of something behind it, even though it wasn't gold. And keep in mind, I'm not a perfect historian on this, so I might be getting some details wrong. But it has managed to outlast other fiat currencies. But as strong as the US dollar is, it is still the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry. It's going to fail. It's mathematically impossible to continue what we're doing forever, which, love him or hate him, Elon Musk has been preaching this for a long time, that we are going to bankrupt the country if we keep doing this. Thus the whole Doge thing, trying to cut down, be more efficient, get rid of this garbage debt. That's the problem. When you can print money out of thin air, and there's all kinds of issues. Politicians no longer have to be good stewards of the economy. They can buy votes by promising like money in incentives to the citizenry that in a sound money economy, they can't do that. Because you have to go actually get real gold to back up those dollars you're promising to these people. You can't do it. It's impossible. Now, because people were ignorant and didn't know how this worked. I mean, my favorite thing to hate was the STEMI checks. By the time you got the STEMI, there's a principle, if I can remember it, it's called the Cantillon effect, or the Cantillon effect, if you are French, which I sort of am, but not really. The Cantillon effect says that the people closest to the money printer get the immediate bulk of the benefits and then trickles down to the other people. So let's say government says we're going to print $9 trillion, which they did over the last few years, of funny money. Most of that money went first to mega corporations, who immediately bought real hard assets with that money before it hit the general economy and inflation ratcheted up. By the time you got your stimmy check, the money you received was worth less than what it would have been worth in the past, right? So by the time you got it, your income from your job had shrunk in actual purchasing power far more than the stimmy check made up for. You're like, yay, I got my $1,500 or whatever. You feel good about money. They're finally giving me money. No, they robbed you and tricked you by giving you this little stimmy while you're not understanding the fact that your basic pay you were getting each year is now worth less. You're buying less. Why are groceries so expensive? That's why. That's why they rob you through inflation while making you think they're doing you a favor. You can't do that with sound money. It doesn't work that way. You have to actually have something to back it up with. So all these shenanigans that politicians, they love it because it lets them get away with this stuff. It lets them make these pork bills that they give money to all of these special interest groups. You can't do that if you actually have money that's backed by something real that you have to go dig up or produce or mine or whatever before you agree to do that. It doesn't work, which is why governments love fiat money, because it gives them the ability to rob you and you don't even know it.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
quick question, but wouldn't the government find a way to tax it like they try with everything else?
I'm sure, but here's the thing. If they have to approach the people to have them vote on a tax, right? Who's going to vote for that? Nah, I don't want to do that. Again, it goes back to the decentralized Bitcoin. You have to convince everybody else to do something that harms themselves. Why would they do that? Rational people wouldn't do that. You might be able to convince some people to do that, but not enough and not as easily as pushing the button and making more money and not having to ask permission.
So the government, for the viewers, the government has absolutely no control over that system.
None.
So, yeah.
Right.
They could
That's
run
what I love.
nodes and stuff. They could try to mine too, but if they poured billions into Bitcoin mining, the Bitcoin algorithm automatically adapts to make it more difficult to mine based on the number of machines that are attempting to mine. They just make it harder for everybody, including themselves.
All right.
Wow.
But the only problem that I haven't heard you bring up is what if there's a World War III scenario and all those computers get unplugged? Now what?
All of our fiat runs on those same computers. I mean, debit cards, credit cards, Google Pay, Apple Pay. What happens to the system we have now if the power goes off? We're screwed regardless. So would you rather be screwed with fiat? This is the crypto Bitcoin maxi argument. Again, I'm not giving a position here. I'm just telling you what they say. Would you rather be screwed by them in that scenario? Or would you rather have a chance at some self-sovereignty and ownership over your own money in that scenario?
Hey, at least when the power came back on, you didn't have to wait 3 or 4 days with the government to get back online and everything. You could just log into your Bitcoin stuff and your money's right there.
Yeah, there's that too. It's not, there are no perfect systems, but the system we have now is so incredibly corrupted and broken that these things are attempts to solve these problems and restore some sovereignty to the individual. And the game theory is that as nations begin to adopt this, that now people, like, let's say my Bitcoin is worth so much now, I can, well, I don't want to pay your taxes anymore. I'm going to hop ship to this country that just adopted Bitcoin as a national standard or national currency where my money's worth a lot more. So forget you, I'm gone. And you can't stop me, because if you try to freeze my bank account, guess what? My money's not there, right? So it becomes game theory. So bigger and bigger nations theoretically would have to adopt it to keep up. Now, I do not believe, personal opinion, that any nation of significance will use Bitcoin or something like it as their primary currency. The best case scenario, in my opinion, and this is still a long way out if it ever happens, is the world reserve currency should be decentralized, and that every other fiat currency has to be pegged to a world reserve currency that's decentralized and nobody can monkey with it. The United States has benefited tremendously from the fact that its currency is the world reserve currency, and it can monkey with it anytime it wants to its own advantage, which has been great for us as American citizens. Well, it was until we got off the gold standard. But it is terrible for everybody else in the world. A decentralized currency that no individual nation controls restores some like equitable nature to the economic system. Now, there's always going to be corruption. There's never going to not be corruption. But if you can limit how much corruption any single actor can bring to the system, the rising tide, it lifts all boats. That's the theory behind it. It is idealistic, it is, but that's the theory behind it. And look, I mean, if you see it from their point of view, it's a better way to try than what we're doing now, which robs all the little guys in favor of big corporations. I mean, it's
okay. So real quick, let's go ahead and wrap this segment up real quick. What I'd like from the viewers is you guys can go back, listen to this portion that John's talked about. Write down your questions, send them to me. I will forward them to John. And then he can decide whether just to, if he's willing to just respond to answer the questions by email, I'll share that with you guys. Or if time allows and he's able to come back on, maybe he can answer your questions. Because I'm sure if somebody goes back, they're going to have questions. And John, if you're willing to do that, we'd love to have you back on. You know that, man.
Schedule allowing, I've got no issues with that.
That was amazing. And to your last point, John, we are in that position out of force to begin with, because I don't think America will ever allow that to even happen, because they're protecting our dollar to be number one. So even though it sounds like a good idea, I don't think it will ever happen. But that's just me. I'm a little black pilled sometimes.
And see, that's where the side of me comes in, where I say the Fed. Y'all have heard me say it before. I think the Fed is dead now. I think we are in two parallel economies right now, and I think we see one. I think we're seeing the old economy die, and then a new economy spring up with a better system that transfers money. Now, whether that be through the quantum financial system, using Bitcoin and XRP, I don't know. But what we have now is not working. I do know that.
To your point, Ruby, and I'll end on this. It's true, they would never willingly allow it. But for example, go back to Nigeria, black market economy, people are motivated, highly motivated to do what benefits them. Venezuela, El Salvador, go to the Congo, go to these countries where their financial systems were thoroughly corrupted. And they're not just going to lay down and die. They're going to find a way to do it. So whether or not the US government says we're going to allow this, because of course they're never going to say that, if enough people are using it in a black market way, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to enforce them if they're trading with each other using crypto and just ignoring the system and not paying taxes, blah, 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 just like in the black market system now, which exists everywhere? How do you stop that? It's whack-a-mole. Good luck once people have the tools to do that. Maybe you're right. Maybe they could find a way to enforce it out of existence. But history says that when people are backed into a corner, they find a way. And
exactly.
So that's what we're looking
I'm
at
feeling
right
it.
now. So there you go.
Wow. So thank you, John, for hopping on and discussing it. I
Thank you
love
so much,
it.
brother.
I loved it.
Sure.
Yeah, and like I said, for the viewers, you guys, after this video is over and it's been posted, put it in the comments section after the video is posted, not the live chat, but put your questions in the comment section so we can look through them and I can put something together and share it with John. and then we can maybe plan for something in the future.
Right.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
that sounds like the best. All right.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
brother.
John. Thank you so
Yeah, good
much.
night.
Talk to you later,
Thank
man.
God my
Bye.
early appointment canceled, so I'll be sleeping in tomorrow.
There you go.
Nice.
See y'all later.
Talk to you later,
All
brother.
right. Bye. Wow, that was amazing. Chat, let me know how you feel about that. I mean, I was I was following along, surprisingly. Like I
Yeah.
was following point per point. I was on it. I had the same question as you. I saw some comments in the chat that I was like, yup, yup, yup. But you know what it gave me the most? It gave me Matrix vibes with the whole like computer systems and whether it's fake or real or whatever. He plugs himself back in the system. He plugs himself back out. It's like it gave me Matrix vibes, but I agree with 90% of the concept of what it stands for, what it is, what it was made for. Like I get it. I get it.
To follow that up, Ruby, can we go over to my Facebook page? My Facebook page. I got a
Mhm.
great little video that I know I posted, and it would be a good kind of button up this part of the show tonight.
All right.
And you're going to see, oh God, it's the bankers' war. It's a little reel. I think I posted it yesterday, but it's going to be like you'll see the Rockefeller guy. That's the burgers and dinner. That's the show. That's that. That's that. No, no.
Mm.
There you go. There you go. Right there.
Okay.
All wars are bankers' wars. All wars are about making a profit for the 1% by consuming the 99%. Iraq was a bankers' war. All wars also have a very strong Zionist component. Let me say first that banks are a massive form of legalized crime. Banks basically create money out of thin air for the 1%. They just create $1 billion for themselves out of nothing. They just say, we have $1 billion, and everybody believes them. And then they lend this $1 billion to people and charge interest. So they're creating money and earning interest they don't deserve. Banks are a complete fraud. Countries need to take responsibility for their currency. They should not be allowing the Rothschilds and the Vatican and the Chabad Jews to control their economy. As one very famous banker said one day, I don't care who makes the laws. If I manage the money, I'm making the laws.
So that ties in a lot with what John was saying. And when you're talking about not trusting the banks, we have some folks in this crowd that have grandparents that probably, took out their money in the 30s and the 40s because why? They said, I don't trust the banks, and they would hide their money in their mattresses. And so, yeah, I think what John was saying made a lot of sense, but we definitely want some feedback from you guys on that, because I thought he did a really good job with it. What about you, Ruby?
Yeah, I kind of glitched there for a second. Can you guys see me and hear me good? I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah, you're
glitched.
good.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah, I think the bottom line to it is, like he said, if everybody's doing it, there's no stopping it, which is the problem, is that too many people are asleep and they're just following the system because that's all they know. And they don't
correct.
know anything different. And if you even try to propose something like that, it's like, oh no, like, it's taboo. It's like illegal all of a sudden. And people don't realize that we literally were born from that type of rebellion. Like,
Yeah,
do you not remember that we are here because of the one of the biggest rebellions ever? So why are you still following the system? So that's why I agree with it, because I'm so anti-government, anti-Fed. If it was up to me, I would be one of those types of people that says we should all stop paying taxes because they can't arrest everybody. So what are
yeah,
they
I'm,
going to
I'm
do?
right there with you.
Yeah, exactly. So that
I'm
would
right
be
there with.
me. But
Yeah,
if I try to log in right now and try to take off the taxes that they take out of my, your paycheck, they show you gross and then they show you what you actually got. Why isn't, I mean, there is an option you can take it off, right? And then you just pay your taxes at the end of the year or something like that. Well, why don't we have that choice as each working person to not pay it if we don't want to? Because this government or our representatives are not spending it the right way. Like John said, they don't even have to ask for permission anymore. They just print it all over again if you don't agree with it because they're going to do it anyway.
We could so take this subject in so many different ways. We could fill up the whole show with this particular subject.
Exactly.
So I think we should go ahead and move on. But I really let us know what you guys think about having something like that, like John doing that, and having an economic segment to the show.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Because I thought that was pretty cool. So this is one reason why I put on my Facebook page that if any of you viewers have a particular subject that you feel like you're versed in and that you want to share with us, let us know, because this show isn't just me and Ruby. We want it says Ruby, Quinn, Jimmy Bell, and friends. So we want participation from you guys. We want you to join in. And with that said, I guess we should see if Bo is still out there.
Yes, he is. He is backstage.
And if he wants to go ahead and come on, let's have him on.
Yes, I'm going to bring him up. There he is. You can unmute yourself.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Perfect.
Oh, I'm so glad. I so apologize to the audience of what's going on. So, I don't know if you guys want me to explain my background before I talk about what I'm going to talk about, because you guys really got a little bit of it because of the interference in the feed problem. Probably didn't make a whole lot of sense. What would you guys prefer? Do you want me just to spew it, or do you want me to just give a little bit of background how I know what I learned?
Ruby, what do you want him to do?
I'm going to leave it up to you guys.
Yes, because I wanted to ask you like some follow-up questions, kind of get to know you a little bit better, especially politically, if you don't mind.
Do
After
you
you
want to
give your
do
little
that
intro.
before I talk? Would that be your preference?
Yeah, go ahead, Ruby. Go ahead. Ask him your questions.
Okay, sure. So really quickly, if you don't mind answering very we'll do like level 1 questions.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so a level 1 question for me is, are you registered to vote or do you vote?
Yes, I'm registered as a Republican. I used to be a Democrat.
Okay. And did you vote at least in the most recent election?
Yes, I vote, and I'll just let the audience know that I voted for Trump all the way through from day one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, interesting. Okay. Um,
So he was Barack
mhm.
Obama is what flipped me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had friends in the
Interesting.
military. There were things that he was doing that people like if the audience knows about the camps, I had friends that were in the military that built those camps.
Yeah.
And then I had friends that were in the post office that told me about the registry. And that's when I went, whoa. And these were people that were like absolutely freaked out of what he was going to do. And so that was one of the things that flipped me.
Remember, Ruby, during the discussion on the 16-year plan,
Yeah.
how we said that during the first 8 years when Obama was in place, one of his things was to weaken the military.
Yeah.
And that happened. And we've heard stories about these camps being set up and guillotines being purchased by the U.S. military or the U.S. government, all during the time of Obama. So it's nice to have Bo mention what he just said.
Yep. I'm gonna step away for 2 seconds, Jimmy, because I have like some background noise. Everybody's playing over there. So I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay,
Right?
so I'll take over. All right, so Bo, go ahead and just go ahead and start, man. Just start wherever you'd like to start.
Okay. So, I mean, my background, Jimmy knows me, and a lot of people know that stuff I've worked on in the past obviously has to do with a certain religious organization, which I legally can't say their name. So if you
Yeah,
guys
we
are
don't
wondering
talk about them
why,
that much.
yeah. So, and I'm not going to refer to any one organization. I'm going to talk about a culture because what I discovered was a culture that is behind this trafficking. And there's something that I could never figure out because I've worked with um, law enforcement, special victim units. I've talked to congressmen from time to time with this stuff. Um, I actually worked with a buddy of mine who's running for U.S. Senate. And so I used to get information that let's say the average person would hear like a month or two later. They were telling me these things were happening. And so I was realizing that this stuff, a lot of things we see and hear is scripted.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, for me, it was a big shock because the political environment was not what I thought it was. I had this idea it was the smartest and best and most educated. And it's more like a bunch of teenagers fighting is more or less the way it looked to me. And then obviously there was the election fraud and all this other kind of things that came out about. And so we had people coming to us, and the person that I'm talking about that I was working with here in Arizona, if you guys remember, I forgot the John McCain.
Yeah.
And when he died, who there was a certain woman who took over his position without an election,
Yeah.
and then they sued them, and then they went to have an election. Well, that was the people I was with that did that.
Gotcha.
So I got to see things from a perspective that most people don't see. So one of the things that I started doing, I started getting like a network. And then I started getting into the culture of human trafficking through the religious upbringing that I had. And one of the bizarre things that I could never figure out was why do these people protect pedos? And why do they spend so much money to do that? And I honestly had no understanding. It didn't really make sense because when you do that and the public sees you, they hate you for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no actual real reason from a financial aspect to do that. And that was the part that I could never figure out until recently. I had watched a gentleman who had saved about 11,000 children from human trafficking. And his name is Troy Brewers, and he's not an acquaintance of mine. I just want the audience to be aware of this. Okay. So I'm just using him as an example. And one of the things that he was talking about is that this culture that is into this stuff, that this is a religion that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they do these things, they believe that they're energizing entities out there when they do these things to children. And it's like a battery. And there were certain like demographics that came across throughout the world. Like, for an example, there would be, and I don't truly understand the belief system that they have of why this is, but this is just what it is. So there's a focus on 13-year-old girls with blonde hair, blue eyes. They're from South Africa. Their name starts with L. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm looking at this stuff and I'm trying to figure out, okay, well that's a weird combination that I don't really understand. And you would think that, okay, so it's one environment, so then maybe it's a coincidence. But when you see it's in Africa, Uganda, Mexico, the Amazon forest, Nepal, India, how are these things connected? Because it doesn't make sense, especially that criteria, until you realize that almost every place that they found these children, there was some kind of bed and altar that was created there.
But let me step in for just a second. You
Sure.
know, you did mention this last week, and, you know, we had the audio problems. But when you said the criteria that they were blonde, 13, and that their names needed to start with the letter L, I put in the comments because the first thing that hit my brain was L, E-L. In Hebrew means God.
Mm-hmm.
And
power.
here, and yes. And so here you are saying that it's a, you know, religious aspect to these people. So by them just looking at the criteria to start with the letter L, that's kind of it's kind of conspicuous there, right?
Yeah, there's a few other dynamics that are associated with those children. Like, for an example, there's something about them being ritually abused by their own family members through 4 generations. And the best that I can understand about this is they feel that it basically energizes the child and makes them more receptive to what they believe is happening. Now, I'm not going to tell your audience that it's true what they're doing. It gives them power. I'm not going to say it doesn't. I'm just saying this is their actual belief system. And the part that's really interesting is this will come off as being like a conspiracy. But if you work with human traffickers and you work with anyone that's involved in this, you will hear these stories over and over again. I've heard them from FBI agents. I have heard them from, I can't reveal this source, but all I can say is that individual, I spoke to them about this and they work for the Pentagon.
Right, but it's real basically. It's like it's
Yeah.
real, it's
And
happening, and it's not a like conspiracy theory, even though that word is they try
yeah.
to use it against you, but in reality it's just that either we can't prove it, but we know it's
hmm
happening. But I do believe personally that it's satanic, um in the truest sense. Like Satanists, it's demonic, they worship the devil type stuff. And I mean, I do believe that. And I don't mean that in a religious sense either, but I do know that they take it seriously. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if they take it seriously and religiously, that makes me want to take it 10 times more serious. You know what I'm saying? To be the opposite end. You know what I'm saying? There, when there's good, there's evil. You know what I'm saying? So at least I want to be the one on the other side, defeating that evil. Like chasing that down, spreading awareness, and then eradicating it. Like we shouldn't be tolerating it at all.
Absolutely not. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, and I think it's important to your guys' audience, is one of the things I've noticed about the Trump administration is they have been talking about this a lot. And a lot
Yep.
of people don't notice it. I'm going to give you guys an example if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So, are you guys familiar with Anna Paula Luna, who is part of the, she's a U.S. representative from
Yeah,
Florida's
Yes.
13th district?
yeah.
Yep.
Did you know what she just did on August 13th?
I don't
I
think so.
vaguely heard something, but can you
A
enlighten
lot of
us?
people are not going to catch this, but when she was on the Joe Rogan show, she released and said that the United States government, that the FBI, was aware that demons exist and they were experimenting with them. And on top of that, okay, now that's a weird, crazy thing to say. Now, she couldn't, she was telling the audience that there's documents, and it's just true. There are documents out there talking about this that have been declassified. Now, she wasn't talking about what she was currently working on, but it has something to do with the human trafficking aspect and the belief system.
Hmm.
Now, what she was telling the audience that unless you're educated in this subject matter, it's going to be really hard to pick up on. But she constantly said something, and I don't know if you guys had saw it, but that something was a certain book. And do you know what that book is? It's
What?
No.
not the Bible. It's the book of Enoch.
That's right.
You
That's
guys,
Ah,
right.
I don't know how much you guys are. I'm assuming by your reaction, you know what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm
it's
familiar with
crazy
the Book of
because
Enoch.
Okay.
have you read it, Jimmy, though? Like, have you
I'm
read it,
not
read
the
it?
whole thing word for word, but I've watched enough videos about it and learned about it. I've been down that rabbit hole.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you
Okay.
notice it, the Book
Mhm.
of Enoch and talking about the fallen watchers and their Nephilim
Mhm.
magic
Mhm.
is
Yep.
everywhere right now. I'm
Yeah,
going to be honest
Mhm.
with you, I very, very rarely heard or seen anything in the Book of Enoch 10 years ago.
yeah,
And it's
Right.
correct.
just
Right.
exploded now that the trafficking thing has gone crazy. And the other thing I want to point out is, okay, with her making those statements, I started noticing a transition with the media openly talking about Satanism, like the
Yep.
Target thing, right? And how they're associated or trying to associate themselves with the transgender movement.
Hmm.
And I started thinking to myself, like, I don't know why this is a thing. And then obviously, then I realized, I'm like, well, obviously, well, it's Pride Month. Satan fell because of pride. And it's just certain things like that that I honestly, because I was an atheist most of my life, I just kind of didn't think about it or pay attention to it. And now these things are all in my face and I'm going like, how did I miss this? And they've been
Right.
sending these messages to you left and right. I mean,
Mhm.
you think about what happened in France, and I don't know if you guys heard what had happened with France. I guess there's some kind of like their economy is starting to collapse right now.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Heard something like that. Yeah.
yeah.
And then,
France is going to fall.
yeah, and then if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't France host the last last Olympics
Yep.
Oh
where
yeah,
they
we
did
talked
that
about it.
ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure you guys talked about this, and I thought I remember saying it, so I just thought I'd bring that up. That you guys were on the money, and it was really obvious what they're doing.
Well,
So,
oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
no, I was just gonna say, so with all this information, what they're doing is they're creating inequities, and that's what they're harvesting.
Yep. And if we look at this on a Hollywood scale, we've seen this before. If you've watched Monsters Inc., they put it right out there for you.
That's a really
Yep.
good example. I didn't even dawn until you said that.
Do
Yeah.
we have a clip for Monsters Inc., Ruby? Just do it.
I
Do we?
don't,
Can you
but
find one?
let's
For the folks that may have not seen Monsters Inc., let her find a video or something on it real quick. But it was basically, you had this corporation that needed energy to operate. So what they did is they sent these monsters in to scare these little kids. And as they would scare these kids, their fear meter would rise, which would give that corporation more energy. So they were treating the kids like a battery. If you look at the Matrix movie, Morpheus actually holds up a battery and shows you right there that that's what they want to do. Now you take that with what Bo said about it. There you go. All right, let's see the clip.
Well, I'm gonna play it on mute just so that we don't get a, copyright or
Okay.
whatever. But I mean, if anybody has seen the movie, you would get it. You would get it. Like once you make that connection, it'll ping in your brain because watching this as a little girl, I,
We
not
didn't
at that
think about this.
moment. Exactly. You don't think about it in the moment, but when you grow up, you're like, yeah, they were legit scaring children and they were using that fear as their energy source for um that company, like you just said.
Yeah.
What does
Yeah.
that mean? What does that even mean? And then when you start going down the rabbit hole, oh, what do they use the fear for? How do they get that fear out?
And what are they extracting? And then that goes into the
Exactly.
a whole nother subject.
Yeah. You know what's another one of these weird subjects that's involved in this is there's a company called Pornhub, which is
Yeah.
like the largest pornography distributor around the world. And they're located in Canada. And Canada
Mm-hmm.
is also the place where certain laws that are protecting certain demographic groups, like the woke,
Mm-hmm.
are at.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really interesting because somebody pointed this out. And if you go there, the titles have to do with incest. Almost all their videos are about incest. It's like their biggest topic. And I mean I'm around Jimmy's age, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
remember like Playboy and stuff, and I don't remember that, or maybe I was too young to identify that, but I don't remember that being mainstream, like a thing.
No, are you talking about like the scenarios of
Well,
this?
just the fact that they make videos about it, like you would never see a Playboy magazine and talking about how they're gonna do incest.
Yeah. 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 I agree. I'd never seen that in the old magazines.
Yeah, and the reason why, like Jimmy, you guys are pointing out, like with the video you just showed with the Monsters Inc., it's been in people's faces and you never noticed it. So I'm just gonna throw a really crazy, because I'm a huge dork. I'm a nerd, right? I'm a Star Trek,
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars fan. Did you know that this very thing we're talking about is in Star Wars, and you don't
I
even
have,
know it?
yeah, I have heard people mentioning that stuff that we're going through right now resembles a lot of Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yeah. So the, so people who are into that belief system, right? You think about Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker, and they had
Mm-hmm.
this kiss, right? And their brother and sister, it was like ancestral kiss, right? Well,
Yeah.
a lot of people go, okay, it was a mistake. But then when you start paying attention to some of the things that are in there, like what planet were they on in the Star Wars? It's Endor, right? Does anybody remember what Endor is or who that is?
Mm-mm.
It's a character
No.
from the Bible. It's a witch that talked to Samuel, King Samuel.
Oh shit. You're right.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So Samuel 28, 325, a female sorcerer who was visited by Samuel, the first king of Israel.
Okay, wait.
Now,
What? Can you say that scripture one more time?
1 Samuel 28, 3 through 25.
28.
And it's a
Oh,
witch of Endor.
okay, sorry. First Samuel chapter 28. And then what was the verse?
This note says, it says 1 Samuel 28,
Mm-hmm.
3 through 25.
Okay. I just want to like make a
No,
note of
no
it. Okay.
problem. So there's a little more to that too. So number one, Endor. What is Endor? If you're a nerd like me, you know it's a moon. Well,
Right.
a moon is a representative to witch. It's
Right.
sacred to witches.
Right.
So if Endor actually is a goddess too. So
Right.
they're on a moon called Endor, and it's a goddess. And then now we have a movie and we're having ancestral kissing. Like they put it there, and unless you understand several different subjects, like you think about all the data points you would have to gather just to realize what they were throwing in
Mm-hmm.
your face. Indoor, you need to know what it was a moon first off. Then you would have to understand the ideology between witchcraft, and there was a witch that was representing in that. It's in the Bible. And I think that that's kind of interesting because I bet you there's a lot of these references and movies and stuff that people don't really catch on or realize because it's a subliminal message.
That's crazy. Good catch. I never thought about that. And
Oh,
there's actually more
wow.
in there too. I've heard that there's more symbology in those movies as well.
Yeah,
So
there's that guy you sent me, Jimmy. I can't remember the gentleman's name that you were telling me about. He does like reviews and he
Morg,
told yeah,
Morg.
he has really, really broken down in-depth videos that explain a lot of this stuff, like
Yeah,
especially with like dark crystal and things of that nature. I mean, that's way more knowledge than I have. I mean, mine's just real basic, and I only know because I've seen this stuff dealing with the child abuse situation, and it just kind of was like, okay. Now, with that being said, we know that there's a correlation in that culture. Now that I said this, and
Mm-hmm.
now that we're thinking about it, your audience, I want to ask you this. Now, I'm not going to say the name of this group, but it's a group that we all know that has a tendency to protect pedophiles and is willing to spend up to $300 million that we know of to protect them. And we don't understand why. Well, if they're a battery for them for bad stuff, well, that might explain why they think they're so important.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
dawned on me, and I've been wanting to share this, but I have been so busy. My schedule's been insane. And then when I went to do this, obviously I had the communication issues. I just want to
Mm-hmm.
let you guys know. I'll, there's a certain person that said something, and I don't want to bring this up in there, but they said that like that people get their channels taken down and stuff like that, that they're just all in their head and that we're not really being persecuted. I just want the audience to know with 100% certainty that the United States government was monitoring my home, and the reason I know that is because they told me.
Yeah.
I had to go through my communication service, which I won't say what it was. I had to go through 9 levels of security to get to an unnamed person who worked for the United States government because somebody accidentally mentioned that there was a filter on my house. Now, the reason that's important, because I work in IT, that filter is designed is only for government buildings, and they put it on my home. And so I was seeing lag and slowness with everything I do. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm a dork. I play League of Legends. 1 second delay is you're dead. So I was so mad and so pissed. I was screaming and yelling at them because I wanted to
Oh,
play League of Legends, right? That's how I
yeah.
found this out. I was a League of Legends player. My stuff's running slow. I have expensive equipment. I'm just going to tell you guys
Mm-hmm.
that. So I knew that it wasn't the equipment, and I know better because I work in the field. I got all the way there. We got to 9 people, and at the ninth person, they said, "This is the deal. I have to get contact somebody within a United States certain digit, agency that I
Mm-hmm.
can't say, and then they have to get permission." I had to threaten to sue the United States government to get that off my filter.
Wow.
And they
Yep.
told
I,
me the reason it was slowing it down is every message and everything I viewed was going through it, and and that's what it was filtering, and then it would send
mm-hmm.
it out. So they're recording everything. And it was slowing my stuff down. Now,
Mhm.
I noticed it especially on Netflix because I would freeze at the exact same moment. So my Netflix would get to, I think it was something like, I wrote it down, but I don't remember what it is. So if someone in the audience is
Mhm.
familiar with this, because I looked it up and people have seen this, it's like it stops at like 32% or 34%, something weird like that. And it would constantly freeze at the exact moment because the filter was doing it and it was never
Mhm.
stopping and constantly running. And so the system was recognizing it running through the TV.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so when you think you're
Wow.
being watched and you're not really sure, you should pay attention. And when you notice things like weird things, like just the other day,
Mhm.
I went to send a message to my mom, and my daughter's face showed up with my daughter's phone number on my phone. And I'm like, that's just kind of a weird glitch. But then I start thinking, you know what? Maybe it's not. Maybe they're watching me. And I'll be honest with you, they never told me why they were watching me. And since I have family members that, are obviously in the government, it
Mhm.
could have been related to that. And then also like some of the work that I've, done and whatever could have been related to
Mhm.
that. I speculate it could have been a certain organization doing it, but I cannot prove that.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Well, I want to ask
We
you
never
this real quick.
can.
Yeah,
I want to
Sorry.
ask you this question real quick.
sure.
You had said that you were a Democrat. You kind of briefly explained on why switched over from that. But you had made mention to me that you were atheist before, but you're not now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us, if you're comfortable with, why you made that change?
It has to do with things that I saw dealing with the child abuse situation.
Okay,
There were things that happened that I can't say
I got you.
at this I will be more than glad to share this transition with you guys, but I can't do that until I'm legally free to, if
Okay,
that
that's
makes
fair. That's
sense.
fair. Yeah, that's fair. I can respect that. I think a lot of people, especially over the last 5 years, and we've heard Ruby say it, we heard Bo say it. I think John alluded to it a little bit about where we're waking up to things that we never really seen before. And I think that right there, we've called this the Great Awakening. And I think if you're really tuned in with yourself and spirituality, you can see a lot of this stuff very clearly. And of course, when you talk about it, you seem like a crazy conspiracy theorist to the other ones that have not been able to wake up to some of this stuff. And when it comes to this child trafficking and human trafficking, guys, I'm telling you right now, you can mark this down. You're going to hear a lot more about this, because I think once everything comes out, this is going to be a component of the Great Awakening that should shock everyone to their core.
Yeah. Do you remember one of the first conversations that me and you had when we first met, and I told you that they were going to go after the cartel after they
Yes,
went after their funds?
yes, yes, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, like people that thought I was crazy when I mentioned that, they're like, it's this very weird, uncomfortable silence now. They're like, "How did you know that they were going to do
Yeah,
that?" And I
exactly.
was like, "Because they was planned."
Yeah. Well, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you sent me a text probably around the summertime. We were talking, and I could pull it up, but then I'd have to go log off. But it basically, you sent me a text that said, Jimmy, I can't believe how, I'm quoting or I'm unquote, I can't believe how on target you've been about things. It's kind of scary though.
Yeah.
Do you remember sending that to me?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I'm gonna be honest, like I've seen this with people that obviously are, associated with the United States government and stuff, and they would say stuff, and then things would happen. But I mean, as far as I know, Jimmy, you don't have any association with the United States government. You just
No.
happen to be watching things and then predicting these things. And to me, I'm like, okay, I'm not really predicting things. Everything I'm telling you guys is because a third person told me that's involved and helped me or worked with me or something along those lines. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm an average guy. I'm no genius. I didn't figure this out on my own. There's a lot of people helping me, especially with the occult stuff I just take to. There's a lot of women that were helping me because I don't know if you guys knew my channel before, what it is now. It was nothing to do with politics, very little.
Right.
And 79% of my audience was female. I didn't know this until like almost the end of it, and we talked a lot about the how that certain organization affected women because I have daughters and that kind of thing, and then now I switched and I was like, okay, that's important, but the politics is what I think is more important now. It's the
Hmm.
exact opposite. I have almost no female audience now, which I think is kind of strange. It went from almost all female to very little when I switched to politics.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, my wife
Well,
just said
hopefully we can
politics are
change that.
boring. So
Yeah. I think the reason that may be happening because a lot of people, they don't understand politics. They don't understand the geopolitical world. And of course, if you don't understand something, your natural tendency is to like, I'm not going to even worry about it. Instead of taking the time to
Right.
actually understand it. So that's one of the reasons why we had John on this tonight, because a lot of people, they don't understand Bitcoin and what it does. So
yeah, I know very little about Bitcoin. That was really interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, it really was.
so but once you once you actually take that first step and you start diving into things, it's amazing how literally everything is connected one way or the other. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Really.
I
Oh, go
appreciate you
ahead. Go
guys.
ahead.
Oh, I was sorry, I didn't mean
Hmm.
to interrupt you. Go ahead, Ruby.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say
No,
before
I
you.
was just saying I really appreciate you guys, taking the time and let me speak to the audience you guys have and share this information. It meant a lot to me. I know Ruby, you kind of said you wanted to ask me questions, so I just want to let you know if
Mhm.
you want to ask anything, I'm pretty open book. As long as I legally can say something, I'll answer it.
Okay, good, because I want you to come back on so I can go on a level 2 or level, harder questions that I don't have time to like, dig it in for tonight. But if you keep coming every Tuesday, so I'm trying to make you a regular.
I'll do
I
the
want
best
you
I
to
can. I
come
can't
back.
guarantee it. I'll try to work it in my schedule. I promise. I'll try.
Okay, good, because
Were there
I am loving it.
were there any comments in the chat, questions in the chat for Bo?
Let's see. JG said that's crazy. What do you think brought you to the Fed's attention? Because you mentioned about that filter. So how did that even, I mean, do you know how it, targeted
There are
you?
multiple things that could have led to that. Number one, there was an investigation I worked with against that organization that
Mm,
I know because one of the detectives came to me and said that they halted it, and it was halted by uh, the government itself. And I was not really given any information more than they're protected and we got to stop.
mm-hmm.
And then the other part, I can't I can't say until the court stuff is done with.
Right. Okay. And where can people find you? Do you still have your channel or do you have another channel or
I
what's your
have a
channel?
channel that is the XJWs of Arizona. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't make videos really anymore. I stopped. The only reason I came out was because Jimmy asked me to do you guys's. You gotta help me, Jimmy. What's the name of the you sent the letters to Trump?
Oh, yeah.
Operation
Operation
Spotlight.
Oh yeah. By
Spotlight.
the way,
Yeah.
he sent me a letter back. I don't know if I ever mentioned that.
You got a letter?
Yeah, I have a
What?
letter. Yeah, it's in my room right now.
Mother of
Oh,
ass.
you gotta what? Okay, do you want to
Did
come
I
back
thought I
and or
sent
you
you a
want to do?
picture of it, Jimmy. I thought I sent you the copy of it.
I
No way.
don't I'd have to look back, man, because
Uh,
I think somebody else sent me something they got a letter back too. I
yeah.
haven't gotten a letter back yet, damn it.
That would be a great like hook to bring Bo back on the channel because I want him to keep coming. So that would be great.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
sorry. I just thought I'd throw it out
Wow.
there.
Do you get a chance, Bo, a lot to talk about politics with other people?
I do talk about it, but a lot of like my family and stuff, like they're not really too into it, but I do like talking about it. Um, like when we go to family events, my wife's family, they're into politics. A lot of them are, and so
Okay,
we talk about it. They're much most of them are, I would say, our our belief systems.
gotcha. That's the reason why I really like doing this show is because I can't really talk politics with a bunch of people. I can't really do it. I can't do it at work. Around
Yeah, I
family.
can't do that at work either.
Yeah, family, they already know where I'm. So, I don't really say much. And so that's why I like this show because we can dedicate 3 hours a week, maybe 4, depending on the night, of just
Yeah.
talking about this stuff. That's why I love doing this.
Oh,
I love talking about politics. My wife hates politics.
Yeah.
And the funniest part is the politicians I was telling you about. They were my wife's friends, and then they were like, "Oh, can you come support us?" And I was like, "Yeah." My wife was like, "I don't want to do this. You guys are making me do this. I'm only doing this because I like you guys." So if you guys ever like look up that politician we worked with, you'll see me and my wife were at the little like
oh, that would
you
be
sit
so
down, you pass things
cool.
out, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Awesome.
we were always there doing that stuff.
Cool. Wow, wow. Thank you both for hopping on and
Yeah.
giving us that story. And everything that you've said tonight was amazing. But I do want to piggyback on what you said.
Hmm.
Um, that's the whole reason for this show. That's why I started it, was because I couldn't speak to anybody about politics either, especially being a female who was not very educated in the political arena at all. And coming out as a Trump supporter back then was a death sentence, like social suicide. Everybody was against him on X, social media and stuff like that. So the only way to do it was to create or build your own platform, right? Like how we're doing here, to talk about it, and whoever wants to listen can come to me instead of you or me trying to kill myself, trying to be at a table where you're not welcomed, right? So that's just me, and that's why I started this, and that's why Jimmy's here, because Jimmy was the first person who said, you're not the only one. You're not the black sheep. You're not some unicorn. There's thousands of other supporters. You just got to find where you fit, right? So that's why we do what we do here. And that's why I guess I am the way I am. I'm kind of crazy on here. If you haven't seen season 1 of our stuff, buckle up, get ready, because it could either go downhill or uphill from here. Like, I don't force anybody to stick around. I'm like, I'm gonna be me and I'm gonna say it, and if you don't like it, oh well. So I kind of take that approach because I just don't care anymore. But that's the point, is that a lot of women out here, they follow other women or they follow men, right? And I think that some people may misunderstand me where I come from, because they might perceive that, right? But in reality, I'm just going with what I feel. That might be a good thing, that might be a bad thing, but here we are. And like Bo said, like, I'm no genius either. You know what I'm saying? We're all normies
Yeah.
in a very chaotic world right now. So why can't we be around other normies and just figure it out? That's me.
Well, it shows you have good character and you at least making good decisions. So that's what I see.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. And
Well,
thank you for
Well,
joining. I
thank you
want you
guys.
to come back in the future. Do not be a stranger.
yes.
I like this. I'm loving tonight. And this was a very eventful night. Um, so thank you for coming on. So I want to respect your time. If you have to, hop off or whatever, you let me know what you can do tonight.
If you don't have to hop off, you can stay on for the next
Right.
segment.
Right.
You know what, guys? I'll stay for the next segment if you want me to. I got no problem. I actually opened up my schedule for this.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
So let's do this. Let's do this, Ruby. It's 11.
Yeah.
Hey, we're trying to stay on a time schedule here, folks. What do y'all think about that?
We have an hour left, and I was gonna
Yeah.
play like my mid roll, and I was gonna get spicy because I still have a lot to get off my chest. That's why
So,
I was
so,
leading it
so,
up to
so
it.
this is what I'm thinking, Ruby. If you want to do this, I
Yeah.
was wanting you to see if you could do your get off your chest thing for the last segment of the show. Give you like 30 minutes. Is that how much time you need for that?
Sure, whatever we can do. Yeah.
Okay, because here's what I'm thinking. Let's go. There's two things I definitely want to address tonight, and they actually are part of our homework. I wanted to talk about the Posse Comitatus Act. I wanted to talk about that. And then we missed this last week, the no tie thing with Trump.
We gotta do that. We gotta do
Yeah.
that. Let's
So-
do that real quick.
So
Please.
you want to do the no tie first?
Please, let's do that really quickly.
All right. Do you have a thing? Do you have a little
Yes.
just a thing for our conspiracy the little trailer for our conspiracy part of the program? The get spicy part of the program?
Yep. Yes, I do. If I could find it. Okay. All right. Get ready, everybody, and get ready to, get your Twitter fingers ready because it's about to get hot.
What'd you think of that, Bo?
It was great.
Welcome back.
I was dancing. I think next time we need to have our pictures up there so we can be dancing for everybody.
Yeah, I'll leave us on the side so that
I was over here breaking it down to that music.
And we haven't heard it in a while, so that was a really good comeback. I'm ready.
All right, so express your concern to me. You had this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay. So everybody knows how Jimmy is all up in the, he knows the theories, he knows what's up, he's, a digital soldier, self-proclaimed, and I'm really interested in that, but I'm not in that community. I don't know those people. I'm not, I don't know nothing really about that. That's why I have Jimmy here to represent. So I saw this on X, why nobody was wearing ties in this Oval Office meeting. I don't even know what it was. Was it a press conference? I don't know what it was, but it was noticed that nobody was wearing a tie, and they were all wearing the white shirt, blue jacket suit. So I don't know if it's symbolic, if it's not. Am I reading too much into it? Or is the internet, reading too much into it? What is it? So I said, Jimmy, do you know what this is? And you know what he told me? He said, no, I don't know what. I'm going to have to check that out. And I was like, oh, Jimmy, how could you drop the ball? So I was like, no, you have
we were taking a break. We were taking a break.
No, I know. But I mean, I talk to Jimmy privately sometimes. Not everything is on the show. So when I'm like, yo, Jimmy, what's going on? And for Jimmy Bell to say, I don't know, that threw me. I was like, what? So this is Jimmy's moment to redeem himself and be like, okay, I got what it is now.
I figured that. But before I do that, Bo, what did you have any take on that? Did that picture say anything to you or no?
Well, the only reference that the way my mind's going to think is I'm going to be thinking about, okay, so we know that Donald Trump's son-in-law purchased a certain building.
Right.
That certain building belongs to a Masonic lodge. The blue represents something special within the Masonic orders.
Okay.
So the color of the suits is meaning something to the audience. The no tie part, I don't know. The only thing I would be thinking of is, okay, usually, after a business meeting, something, when you take the tie off is when it's time to relax. But to me, that doesn't make sense.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that was your first take. You hadn't heard about this before, correct?
No, I've never seen the image until you showed it to me.
Okay. All right. So I did a little research, and the first place I went to was Google. Y'all know I'm not a fan of Google, but I do present what they say. So the audience can say that I'm not being biased or whatever. Then I have two entries from Twitter accounts. One is from Prolariat, or I'm sorry, yeah, Proletariat, whatever. And then the other one is from Not Op Q. So this is what Google said about the no tie thing. When Donald Trump appears without a tie, it is widely interpreted as a deliberate message to project an anti-establishment populist image. The gesture is not a sign of sloppiness, but as seen as carefully curated optics. While observers and conspiracy theories have offered a variety of interpretations, the most common themes are a rejection of the traditional political class and a demonstration of power. Now, here's the symbolic meaning given by Google. Anti-establishment signal. Many interpret the absence of a tie as a rejection of the DC uniform and the political establishment. It is seen as a way to signal that Trump and his allies are outside the swamp. Populist optics. The casual but still sharp-looking attire is meant to project a working-class vibe as he and his team are ready to roll up their sleeves to get things done for the people. No ties to the cabal. As amplified by some commentators, the lack of a tie is sometimes interpreted as a sign of cutting ties to deep state conspiracies or old political cabals. Gloves off message. Recent instances have been framed by allies as a ties off, gloves off statement, signaling a period of aggressive, unrestrained action. Notable recent instances. The August 2025 Oval Office photo. In August 2025, photographs showed Trump and others, including Vance, in the Oval Office wearing crisp white button-ups with no ties. The look was viewed by supporters as a deliberate signal of defiance toward the establishment. The coordinated action sparked online theories about its deeper meaning. Okay, that was from Google. First question. Does it kind of surprise you that Google said this?
It's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm surprised they said what they said here.
I'm wondering what the it looks like it says FIFA World Cup. I wonder if that's some kind of message there.
Well, that's the World Cup is supposed to be coming to America, and I think that was the press conference where they were celebrating the fact that was coming to the Americas.
Right.
But let me continue real quick, and then we'll open for discussion. So, Proletariat said, "Is this what it means? The tieless ensemble is no accident. It's a visceral rejection of the establishment's chokehold. Ties historically symbolize bondage, literally nooses of conformity, tying men to corporate and governmental masters. By ditching them, Trump declares emancipation from the invisible leashes of the intelligence community and globalist cabals. This is Trump flipping the bird to the alphabet agencies and shadow operators who've hounded him since 2016. No ties means no more playing by their rules, no more backroom handshakes or veiled threats. It's a visual manifesto. The administration is unbound, ready to expose and dismantle the surveillance state that rigged elections, spied on citizens, and orchestrated pandemics for control. Are we on to something? And Not Op Q put this out. Considering what we just talked about, no ties to the cabal and all that good stuff. 20 JAG Corp officers activated in DC. On August 20th, 2025, the Defender Service Office Training Division of the Administrative Office of the United States Courts announced that 20 JAG, Judge Advocate Generals Corps, were activated from the Department of Defense to assist with arrest, prosecutions as special assistant U.S. attorneys or federal prosecutors for the U.S. Attorney's Office of D.C. The following week, Attorney Janine Pereiro recently Fox News recently told Fox News that her office was understaffed and needed 90 prosecutors, 60 investigators, plus paralegals as a result of recent CIC Commander-in-Chief Trump administration January 6 firings. So they went to the military to get these judge advocate generals to help with arrests and prosecutions. Like right around the time that picture was taken.
And this was posted on X on August 22nd, 2025.
There you go. So 2 days before this picture, military judges were activated. And then this picture comes out.
Okay, and just to clarify that the things you just read, what was that source?
Okay, so the first part was Google. You can just type in, what does it mean when Trump doesn't wear a tie?
Right, and then the explanation was next that you gave?
And the other one was from PROLOTARIO1. And it's a X account, Proletariat 1. And then the other one that announced the JAG officers is not OpQ, NOT space OP space CUE.
And that was on X as well, the platform?
That's on X as well, yeah.
Okay, so if anybody is interested in that, this is why I love X, is because you're gonna find something somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And my like philosophy, I guess, is that I'm not so necessarily like hardcore trying to prove if something is true or not. I'm just open-minded enough to read everything and then I decide for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're interested in that, or if this like woke something up or piqued your interest, do your own research, find your own sources, and then see what you come up with. Because to me, if I'm looking at something like this, I of course I read the comments, but what did I do? I called Jimmy. I said, "Hey, do you know what this is about?" You see, it triggers conversations and other like sources that's not from a college or a an encyclopedia or something. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like I love it like this.
I'm glad you did that because I wouldn't have known because that was in August. We weren't really doing much in August. We weren't keeping up with everything. And the 20 JAG officers being activated, I would have missed. That's huge. People do not know how huge that is. So what did you think about the explanation, Bo?
Well, the officers being activated, what I'm thinking about is that okay, we've wiped out the Doge situation has exposed what we call black money.
Yep.
And so that black money, this is something we talked a long time ago. First, you got to bankrupt the Dem party. Then you got to get the black book money. And then you need to get the money that's coming from the other source, which was the cartel. Now that they've starved them of their money, they're going to become more desperate. They're going to make mistakes, and it's going to be easier to get them because now people are going to be like, judges are going to be like, oh, am I going to risk my job to take this bribe? Wait a minute, you guys are broke and you have no money.
Yep.
I think that they're going to probably start preparing to fight. I'm going to call them just the woke because I don't have a better term. But we know that every time he does something, what's happening? We're having a certain judge trying to go out there and say that he's committing some kind of crime against, which is completely false to delay things. I think that they're going to start going after them. I think that's really what the plan is here, in my opinion. They're going to finally start preparing for arrests because if you can't control the DA and you can't control, because the way it works is police station would say a chief, then the DA, and then one judge. Because that situation in California where there's that one judge that happens to get every single case that involves a certain church. Come on. That's not even legal, but yet they're still doing it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
That's interesting that you mentioned the judge thing because on the next thing we share, we're going to talk about that too.
Oh, well, good.
We've been talking about these judges We did it at the end of season 1, and we've done it every episode so far this year. So
okay, so where are we going, Jimmy?
Well, does that give you a little more perspective on the no tie thing, Ruby?
Oh yeah, because you see, like I read that, but I want the human reaction slash conversation. That's why I went straight to you and I was like, okay, explain this to me, because I could read that all day long. It doesn't sink, but when you talk to somebody, you're like, okay, it's sinking now. Like, okay, do you see what I'm seeing? It's like I'm validating whether or not that actually makes sense, or am I tripping? Like I always second guess myself. Like, am I the one who's tripping and just reading too much into it?
Yeah, there's a guy. He's on Rumble. He's on oh God, what's the other one? Telegram. Derek Johnson. And when he first came out with the military symbolism and the law of war manual and all this stuff, it was like mid 2020, 2021, he got big. I started watching his stuff because he would show symbolism in clothing, in military clothing. And that's why there's a lot of us, when it comes to the whole Biden inauguration, we call it the Biden funeral, because of all the symbolism that you saw that day. Now, we're not here to discuss that particular issue. If y'all want us to go further into that, we'll talk about that in another segment. But so I really liked his stuff because he would show it and compare it, and I'd be like, that actually makes sense. So
right. It's like confirming that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me in this whole awakening process, that's all it is for me. Make it make sense to me.
Right.
That's it. Just make it make sense. So, all right. So let's move on to the next part, and then we'll get into Ruby's rant. The next part's going to be about 20 minutes, so she'll give Ruby about another 20 minutes in the show.
Oh, but we still got to mention the train station stabbing.
Oh, Jesus.
And there was the UFO moment, like conspiracy moment that there's so many things that happened today. That's what I'm saying. Like, where do you want to go?
Well, I really want to explain this posse comitatus thing. And the reason why is because you're going to see more of this ramp up pretty quickly in the news.
Okay,
and so
do like a little recap. What was the context of that? Just
so basically, basically we talked about Trump activating the National Guard in Washington, D.C. Right. And everybody, your mainstream media, those with TDS, those who aren't awake yet, but Trump's being a dictator. He's being a Nazi. He's not allowed to do this. He's violating the Posse Comitatus Act, blah, 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 blah. And they haven't done the digging on the Insurrection Act and the Posse Comitatus Act. So today I did a very quick video explaining this. And I pulled a clip from the Wright Report, which is really good. And I wanted to play that this evening. And then y'all can discuss it amongst yourselves, and then we can go from there. So can we do that, Ruby?
Okay. Yes, we can. And you want me to go straight to the minute mark of the report, right?
Well, it's actually pretty quick. Just play it from the beginning. You don't have to play the end of me talking.
Okay, so from the beginning of your live.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
I kind of set it up.
All right, and I'm gonna up the speed to about 1.5. Let me see if that works.
Everybody's talking about Trump is violating the Constitution because of his use of the National Guard. If you were just listening to the mainstream media, then all you're hearing is Trump is being a Nazi and there's going to be martial law and fascism and this and that and one thing after another. So the everyday person that is not really paying attention to this stuff doesn't know what's really going on. They don't know the ins and outs of certain acts and what is actually said in the Constitution. So we had a viewer last week ask us about the Posse Comitatus Act. So I wanted to share some information with you guys real quick, play a bit from the Wright Report that was put out last Tuesday, and then we're going to take this video and play it on the Unrelenting Political Corner tonight at 9 p.m. I just wanted to make sure I had it all in one place. So to start off with, we need to look and see exactly what is the Posse Comitatus Act. The Posse Comitatus Act is a federal law that generally prohibits the use of the Army and Air Force for civilian law enforcement in the United States. Passed in 1878, it stems from a tradition of keeping the military separate from civilian duties, rooted in the British King's use of his military to police the American colonies. The act has significant exceptions, such as when authorized by the Constitution or another act of Congress. Like the Insurrection Act, which allows the president to deploy federal troops to suppress domestic violence or enforce federal law under certain circumstances. The act originally applied only to the United States Army, but a subsequent amendment in 1956 expanded its scope to the United States Air Force. In 2021, the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2020 further expanded the scope of the act to cover the United States Navy, Marine Corps, and Space Force. The act does not prevent the Army National Guard or the Air National Guard under state authority from acting in a law enforcement capacity within its home state or an adjacent state if invited by the state's governor. The United States Coast Guard is not covered by the act either, primarily because although it is an armed service, it also has maritime law enforcement mission. Now, back on the Q boards. Yeah, I follow Q. Get over it. That's how I've got a lot of my information. But on the Q boards, there was a post that was put out. It was post number 4521 on June 25th of 2020. And in here, it's a clip from the congressional website talking about the different bills that were coming up for vote and everything like that. So HR 7297, they wanted to amend Title 18 United States Code to prohibit the use of an armed force under the jurisdiction of the Secretary of Military Department as a posse comitatus or otherwise to execute the laws and for other purposes. Well, guess who the sponsor for that bill was? Any guesses? Does pencil neck ring a bell? It was Adam Schiff. Now, the following part of that post says this: worth tracking. The Posse Comitatus Act, 18 U.S. Code, Section 1385, an original intent of which was to end the use of federal troops in former Confederate states, prescribes the role of the Army and Air Force in executing civil laws in states. Key exceptions to the Posse Comitatus Act. Pursuant to the presidential power to quell domestic violence, federal troops are expressly exempt from the prohibitions of Posse Comitatus Act, and the exemption applies equally to active duty military and federalized National Guard troops. What is Adam Schiff trying to prevent? Everything you are witnessing, past and present, future, centrally revolves around the presidential election of 2020, when by any means necessary, self-preservation. All right, so did this attempt by Adam Schiff succeed? Adam Schiff's 2020 attempt to amend the Posse Comitatus Act as a standalone bill, HR 7297, the strengthening the Posse Comitatus Act of 2020, did not succeed. However, a similar amendment to expand the act's coverage was later included in the 2022 National Defense Authorization Act. So here are the key details. Failed. Schiff introduced the bill in June of 2020 following the Trump administration's response to protests. The bill was meant to expand the act to all armed services, but it did not advance in the session of Congress. I wonder why it didn't advance. Now, we've also had a 2025 case. In September of 2025, a federal judge, now, if you've been watching the Unrelenting Political Corner, we always talk about every week that there's a federal judge doing something to try to stop what Trump's doing. So here we are again. A federal judge ruled that former President Trump violated the Posse Comitatus Act by deploying National Guard troops and Marines for domestic law enforcement activities in California, finding no valid legal exception to justify the deployment. Here are, expansion to other military branches. A 2022 amendment expanded the reach of the act to include the U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, and Space Force, strengthening its overall coverage. Here's the exceptions. While the act is broadly prohibitive, there are specific instances where military force can be used for civilian tasks, such as responding to natural disasters, enforcing certain federal laws, or in cases of an insurrection under the Insurrection Act of 1807. Let's go back to enforcing certain federal laws. Wouldn't that include immigration laws? Illegal immigrants? Would that be an exception that would allow the National Guard to do what Trump's wanting them to do? So, questions that folks need to ask themselves. Now, let me go ahead and play. I can't see the comments. It's so small, guys. But let me go ahead and play the right report. Now, this was put out last Thursday, and I love the way this guy explains stuff, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. So, and then I'll just give my final thoughts after the video is over. So let me go ahead and play this. And play.
Of the morning, President Trump announced yesterday that instead of Chicago, he may send the National Guard, maybe U.S. troops, to New Orleans. Quote, we are going to maybe go to Louisiana, to New Orleans, which has a crime problem. We'll straighten that out in about 2 weeks, end quote. Now that is a shift in focus for the White House. The president has suggested that Chicago or Baltimore might be up next after Washington, D.C. But no, said Trump yesterday, quote, if we go into Baltimore, we can straighten that out very quickly, but I think we are pretty much waiting until we get asked, end quote. Wait a minute, what? What gives? Why wait? And now why New Orleans? Well, as the Christian Science Monitor is reporting, it has to do with probably something called the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878. That restricts the use of federal military personnel from engaging in domestic law enforcement activities like arresting folks or searching and seizures. The goal in drafting that old law back many, many years ago was to avoid federal troops imposing DC's will on states and their residents. 2 weeks, you might be thinking, well, that should then prevent the president, any president, from ever deploying the troops to cities like New Orleans, right? Well, no, there are some exceptions to this old law. One that you might hear about is a U.S. law or code called Title 32. That allows for a President Trump, in this case, to use National Guard forces to undertake a federal mission with federal funds, but under the control of a governor. So, for example, we could have a case where Texas Governor Greg Abbott tells Trump, hey, I need your federal forces, and send them into a sanctuary city like Austin, because the city's mayor there is a Democrat who is refusing to execute or impeding federal immigration laws. So that is a good use of Title 32, and it probably explains why Trump wants to go to Louisiana and New Orleans and not Baltimore and Maryland. Louisiana's governor is a Republican named Jeff Landry, while New Orleans mayor is a Democrat, Miss LaToya Cantrell. Using these Title 32 authorities, President Trump and Governor Landry could work together and lawfully to deploy various National Guard troops to New Orleans to combat, say, crime or round up illegals and so forth, no matter the protests of that Miss LaToya, the Democrat in New Orleans. But folks, that doesn't mean that President Trump couldn't go into, say, Maryland or Baltimore with the law on his side. He's got something called the Title 10 authorities as well. Those allow for the National Guard or active duty troops under federal control to go into a state, despite a governor's opposition, for one of three reasons. First, to quell a foreign invasion. Second, put down a domestic rebellion against the federal government. Or third, the president is unable with regular forces, say ICE officers, to execute the laws of the United States. And that is the legal rationale that President Trump used to send in the troops and the Guard to Los Angeles. As the White House said over the summer, we had a governor, Newsom, and a mayor, Ms. Bass, who were refusing to assist or blocking enforcement of federal immigration laws. So for these Title 10 authorities, it means that federal forces or guardsmen can assist other federal personnel, like ICE, to help round up illegals. Now, most observers, even at, say, the liberal outlets like the New York Magazine, they have reported that Trump was and remains within his authority to use these Title 10 laws or authorities in the way he did. But not all people believe that. We might remember there is a far-left Democrat judge in California who has now ruled twice that Trump went too far with his use of Title 10 authorities. His name is Judge Breyer, and he has gotten smacked down at least once, in fact, over the summer at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. But this week, he announced that he's going to try again to stop President Trump. The White House is appealing his Tuesday ruling as well, and odds are it won't stand should it get to the Supreme Court. Still, using Title 10 authorities can get into tricky legal ground, especially if the White House moves away from using troops of the Guard, from executing federal immigration laws, to, say, fighting crime in general. Lawyers debate about various scenarios where maybe Trump could fight crime in general using these Title 10 authorities, but it's pretty dicey. And that, ladies and gentlemen, appears to be a big reason for why the White House and the president said yesterday that maybe he'll wait for the Democrats that run Maryland or other blue states to invite him in first. That would then allow President Trump to invoke his Title 32 authorities versus his Title 10, which would put him on much steadier legal ground. So with those facts and data, let's now pivot to analysis and opinion. And I will start with this. Whether you like the president or not, he has done a pretty good job of staying on the right side, or the cleanest side of the law on these National Guard deployments. But even if it is legally acceptable, there is a separate question this morning of whether it is politically smart to do. Now, of course, Democrats say no. They're calling this a case of Nazi America that's firing up their base. But I think for reasonable people, most reasonable Americans will support President Trump's crackdown on crime so long as it's tailored and compelling. We'll remember that the Associated Press put out a poll last week that showed that 81% of us think that crime in this country is a major problem, specifically in America's big cities, And that 55% of us say that sending in the National Guard or the military to assist local law enforcement is a pretty good use of personnel. The key, though, there is the word assist. And I suspect that the White House has some internal polls that show pretty much the same. And that is why the president is being very careful not to go too far or in a too heavy-handed kind of way, just providing assistance, not dominance, in other words. But that line and that debate, it's a tricky one. If the White House goes too far, it could have an impact on all kinds of things, like and especially next year's midterm elections. So there you have it, folks. President Trump has legal authorities to do what he has been doing now for a while, within reason. But yes, there is a political calculus to this and whether or not voters like you want it. And that, folks, takes us to our next.
All right, so there you go.
So I think that was pretty good to kind of pause it there. But if anybody wants to go to Jimmy's channel and watch the rest of it, it's one of his live on the live tab. But that made perfect sense to me. Like, I didn't need to ask additional questions. I didn't need like anything. It made sense the first time. Let me know if you guys in the comments are still confused about that or if that's still tripping you up. But to be honest, I don't see a problem with it. I don't see an issue. Everything was explained. It was within the legal realm of what the president can do. And this is actually what I expect from the executive, which we haven't seen in years, or at least me, because I'm too young. I don't know about you guys, but to me, I haven't seen this type of stuff happen
Right.
in my adulthood. So now that I'm watching it now happen at I'm 29, it's a good thing in my opinion. And I can't even fathom that it went on for so long the way that it did. The crime, the insurrections, the riots, the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Like the BLM, the Kyle Rittenhouse, I mean 2020, countless things, right? For it to even be allowed to happen, nobody bats an eye. Everybody loves it. They love this rebellion type thing. I get it. But then when the reinforcements come in, now you have a problem with it. You have a problem when there's no homicides, when there's nothing
Yeah.
bad happening. It's a problem. That's what gets me.
Bo, what did you think about that? So this subject, did you have any thoughts on it?
That culture wants inequities, and you're trying to stop the inequities, and they believe they get money and power from it. So yeah, they're upset and they're desperate to stop it. That's what I see. Trump, he's a chess player. He knows that they're going to stab themselves in the foot by allowing this to get more and more and more crazy. And he's
Yep.
going to let them get more and more crazy. So people are, like, for an example, if you play videos on YouTube of what certain areas that these people have, they'll take your videos down because you're not allowed to show the drug addicts falling over and all the other things going on. But X, well, guess what? They're everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what I see. I see that this is a political move by our team, is how I'm going to say it, and that they're letting them do that, and they're letting everyone see, hey, your choices are you can live in slop, or you can vote for us with the next term.
Yeah, this was my final 2 points that I wanted to bring out on this. I like the fact that you said that Trump is a chess player. And there's another thing that's very popular saying on the cue boards where sometimes you just can't tell the people, you have to show them. So in relation to this, those citizens of the states that are basically Democratic ran, let's say Maryland, he's going to wait for them to ask him to come in. And if they don't ask the president to help solve the problem, what are the citizens going to think about those in leadership? They're going to be like, hey, we got all this crap going on and we need you to do something. And they're not doing anything. So the people are going to be shown the corruption. At the end of that video, I listed the 17 different cities that you're probably going to see the National Guard in. And in one of the comments, somebody said, hey, Pittsburgh's not on that list. Send them here. So that just tells me that's just one citizen in a city that wants to see their government officials doing the right thing, but they're not. So when you see these officials not doing what they need to do to protect the community and the people, then you vote them out, of course. The second point that I want to say to this is the immigration, that is a federal law. So Trump has every right to go in and take care of what needs to be taken care of. What do the Dems and rhinos use as votes? Illegal immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
So you get rid of them. That takes away their voting base, a part of their voting thing, and their cheating apparatus. Now, does it make sense why some of these people are so pissed about this?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on that. So hopefully, whoever asked me to look that up, hopefully that all made sense, and you know a little bit more about the Posse Comitatus Act.
Wow, Jimmy, thank you. And I love how you do your own little live on a single issue, and you present it so well. You share at least one source, and then keep it pushing, because this is where we get, we dive deeper into stories like that.
See,
So,
I think. Sorry,
mhm,
Ruby. Sorry, I apologize.
go ahead.
I like doing that, and because during the week things will hit me, and I'll be like, "Ooh, I need to talk about this Tuesday." And I'm like, by the time Tuesday gets here, I'm like, oh, well, I ain't really got anything, blah, blah. So I might do, if y'all like that, as things hit me during the week, I might just jump on YouTube live real quick and be like, hey, this is a part of the show we're going to do next, I'm going to put on next Tuesday. Here it is. So y'all get a sneak peek.
Yeah, I love
Can I
it.
ask
So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Ruby. I was gonna ask you, is there any chance, Ruby, you guys could? I know you guys' time is running down, but can you guys do the UFO thing, whatever that is?
Yes, because that was insane. Did you see the video?
I don't know what it is. That's why I want to know really bad. I'm like, what is this
Okay.
UFO thing?
So
Sorry, it's a
I
big ask.
think, okay. No, that's fine. Okay, so this was 7 hours ago, surprisingly. This was happening. I think it was live, and then it kind of blew up on the internet. Mind you, while this is happening, breaking news somewhere else that Russia was doing something in Poland with drones. I don't even know what that was. It was like breaking news. So we have to get into that maybe next Tuesday, because this is what I feel like they're distracting us from. And Jimmy and I talk about this all the time. So this is what happened. And this is the title: UFO hit by Hellfire missile, and it keeps flying. So it literally splits the missile in two, and nothing happens. And I'm like, what? So this literally happened right before the show. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go live because we have to talk about this. All right, so I'm going to play the clip and you guys let me know. We're going to discuss. Get ready, everybody.
Admiral Gallaudet, Lou Elizondo, and Mr. Gold, and the many others that have come forward. We hear you, and it's time that we, enough is enough. It's time that we take action. Look, I'm not jumped to the conclusion that I believe that there are, aliens coming from another planet, but I'm open to that. And I think that it's our responsibility, especially when we're seeing that we have a government that is actively blocking information from us. Just last night, I tried to get an amendment onto the National Defense Authorization Act that fit in the germaneness of that bill to have UAP disclosure. And conveniently, it was named non-germane, mostly deemed by staff, not even an elected official. This is the kind of stuff that we repeatedly see. Last year, we were blocked by someone in House administration from being able to receive a full briefing from Arrow. So not an elected official, but someone in staff blocked us. And I've had it. Enough is enough. I want to cue up a video that I've been given. And as before it starts, I'm going to describe, this was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone, and so I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does. This is when it zoomed out. So you can still see it traveling.
You see that, right? It's
Yeah, I
just
see
a
it.
ball. Like, what is that?
So, did you notice that the missile didn't detonate?
Mr. Knapp,
Right.
So that device is using some kind of EMP because it's knocking out the missile's internal system that tells it to explode.
I'm telling y'all, I don't think a lot of people are ready for these rabbit holes. But this goes right along with what I was listening to from the Galactic Federation channel, because they talked about that these folks, I guess you could say the Galactic Federation, I know it's hard for people to accept that, said they actually have power to stop some of humanity's weapons. For example, like the nuclear weapons. And so, is this technology, is this something that they're capable of doing, is negating military's weapons? Don't know.
Possibility. But Bo, can you repeat that one more time? You said that it didn't have the capability because it didn't detonate. Can you repeat that one more time?
So looking at the video, what I saw is the missile hits. It doesn't look like the missile explodes. It looks like the missile just ricochets off the device. So what I was saying is the device itself probably is emitting some kind of wave, which is going to wipe out the circuitry to keep it from exploding. The other thing is obviously whatever material it is has to be extremely dense and powerful to withstand a hit and not go down. The other thing it could be doing, in my opinion, is it could be using some type of anti-gravitational shield, which would mean that obviously it looks like it's hitting, but there's actually a gravity field around the device that is going to negate that damage, or however you want to rephrase it.
Right. I agree with you because I mean, when I used to like go down these like YouTube videos and stuff like that, all of
Hmm.
those terms have been said before. Like people explain this over and over again. It's just that the majority of people don't believe this type of stuff because they just don't. I don't know if it's a religious thing or what, right? And you guys already know if you've seen my alien episode, I don't believe in it either. I say that those are demons, I don't believe in that stuff. But in this video, you see the missiles going. It's it's that UFO that bangs into it somehow and it
Yeah.
keeps going like nothing, like the Incredibles. It just keeps going.
You know what really goes to mind when I see this
Mhm.
is so during World War II, there was an unidentified object that I believe was over California that the
Mhm.
United States government thought it was the Japanese and opened fire on it. And
Mhm.
the largest amount of ammunition ever fired in the United States history at a single target was that target with no damage done. And their
Mhm.
explanation is it was a weather balloon and they missed.
Oh
I
my
mean, as
God.
insane as that is, and that's what I think of when I see that. I'm like, okay, so obviously, whatever it is, and we don't know what it is, because
Mhm.
I'm going to be honest, Ruby, I would have argued against what you said, would say a year ago, but after the incident with the thing that landed in the backyard and the police officer situation, one thing I noticed is, do you know what I'm talking about, by the way? Is you familiar with this? The landing that took place that the police officer like spoke that he saw.
I'm not familiar with that.
Well, I guess it's gonna be hard to explain. So it's one of those things that happened like a couple years ago,
Okay.
where there's a Spanish family and something
Oh,
landed in
wait,
their
I do
backyard.
remember that.
Yeah,
And,
okay, so
and
you know
where
what I'm
did where
talking
did
about?
where did it happen? Where did it happen?
I don't know. I can't recall.
Ah, okay. All right. So I'm
I'm
gonna have to look
sorry.
it
I
up
wish
later,
I.
but go ahead.
Yeah. But anyways,
Mhm.
what I was gonna say, just make it fast, is it was all over the news, and they would talk about it, and they would say how the creatures they left or whatever after a while. What I found is I was really into this. I watched all the news segments that talked about it, and there was a part that every single one of them cut out. And the only reason I know they cut it out is because I watched the kid talk about it, and he said when they're in the house, when the aliens are trying to rip open they're on the ceiling and running around, they said that they gathered around and prayed, and when they prayed, the creatures screamed in pain and left. And no like UFO documentary ever played that part. And the only reason I knew about it is because the kid put on his own social media and said, "Everyone is hiding this part, and I want you to know." And then he said what had happened. And I
What?
went, and being an atheist at the time, I went, "This doesn't make sense." I went, "Is it true that they hit it?" And so I went to, I think it was about 8 different news stations and watched it. And sure enough, whenever it got to that part, they all cut it.
Wow.
Wow.
And
No
that was something that I
way.
thought was really, really bizarre. And I didn't really have an explanation for, because I was like, why would the UFO community, even they were doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And I went, well, that's really weird, because that's a pretty important fact that I think that people should know, especially when you
Mm-hmm.
have a weird story like that. But that's
Right.
my opinion.
Well, that gave me goosebumps. Like all my hairs went up. I hate this kind of stuff because it does trigger the spiritual realm, like supernatural or alien stuff. So for me, I don't touch it. I don't go near it. I tell Jimmy sometimes I'm not mentally ready for it. Like, don't bring it up. But this was crazy because this happened today, like 7 hours ago, literally. And while all of this is going on, like I said, there was a major news distraction with Russia and Poland. Something's going on over there. They're shooting stuff up. I don't know what it is. And that NATO is getting involved. And then that was a whole that's a whole nother conversation that we have to have. But and I see Lily and I knew it because I was just about to mention this too. Like I remember when Lily was all up in it, Monica came on. We had a whole conversation about this, and I remember coming out to you guys and saying, "Hey, respectfully, I just don't believe in that." I gave my whole thing.
So Ruby, I got an idea for a future show.
Yeah.
October 28th. It's a Tuesday night. It's 2 nights before Halloween. Maybe for that week's episode, we should just dedicate it to just all
Yeah.
UFO outside lands, outside of the ice wall. Are we really alone? And then we need to dress up for it.
Yeah, that would be super cool. I just want to finish this clip because there's more. There's a little bit more, so I'm
Oh,
gonna finish.
okay.
Yeah.
I have heard about events like this. I have heard about this event. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it in one of our episodes a while back. We did not have the video, though. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public hasn't been allowed to see. Occasionally, some of that stuff gets out in the wild and it comes our way. It should be going to you. The public should be seeing this stuff. And why you're not allowed to, I don't know. But that's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah. What the hell is that? What
So
what
again,
flies like that?
again, I'm not going to speculate what it is, but the question is, why are we being blocked from this information?
Wow. Wow.
So that was I saw that and that was my thing is like this it exists, right? Even back from like the 50s, like the Men in Black type of stuff. And then they even made a movie about it, the Men in Black, right? Once again in our faces, once again this Hollywood stuff, but why can't we get the real files? Same thing with the JFK stuff and the MLK stuff. It's like, why can't we get the files? Why can't we get the videos? Why can't we watch those videos? Why is there no transparency? Even if there are conspiracy theorists or whatever, if you don't believe in it, you don't believe in it, right? But what if we do want to see it? Why can't we? So when he said that, he was like, well, I don't know why. That's what gets me is that this government is hiding everything from us.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
And we know it. And we know it.
Bo, did you have any final thoughts on that particular segment?
Yeah, so many that it's hard. But I just want to say one thing is I had heard that they have downed some of these craft before, and take this with a grain of salt. But I was hearing these rumors that a lot of times when these ships crash and they go and recover them, they find children inside of them, like
Really?
children, not like the aliens are little people, but children. and that was really really bizarre to me because I'm hearing this, but then I'm going to be honest with you, I have never seen any UFO show ever say this. And this is something that's only recently been coming out, and some of these people that do UFO research, they're talking about it, but they've never really shared it, and they've started sharing it recently.
So I've never heard that yet.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, okay, wait. So, is this along the same lines of like human abductions? Like they take humans and use us?
I when I was watching it, they really said, and I don't remember where or what program it was. It was one of these videos about UFOs, and one of the people that was a UFO research said that a lot of times in the documentation, when the ships have crashed, there's children in there. It doesn't say they didn't say anything about it. It was just some declassified documents that people had gotten. And I don't even know if this is in the United States. It might have been in a different country, but there was
Mm-hmm.
declassified UFO information that these researchers had gotten, and this is some of the things that was in there that was said. So it could be a
Um,
government program abducting kids. It could be something else. It's just something weird that I really never heard and then started coming out. And then with all the CSA stuff that's coming out now, I'm like,
mhm.
Is this a coincidence or are they trying to tell you something?"
Wow.
Okay, you see, that opens a whole lot of different doors. So we're gonna have to revisit this topic because it's very interesting, and I have some theories of my own. Like I'm making stuff up in my head right now. Um, that could
Well,
become really interesting. Yeah.
well, they do. They are saying that there's supposed to be like these spaceships that are supposed to arrive sometime in November. So
Stop
are
it.
they? Yeah, you haven't heard
Stop.
that yet. You haven't heard that yet?
No, I have not. Where did you hear
I have
that?
not
Yeah, this
heard
is
this. You
like
got to
two
tell
weeks
me.
ago.
Where? On X?
Yeah,
Facebook?
you can.
Where?
Yeah, just type in spaceship visiting Earth in November.
What?
Oh yeah.
All right, I'll just plug it in real quick. If my computer could load. You see, this is what happens when we start talking about this kind of stuff. It happens to me too. My computer starts lagging, everything starts getting choppy.
So while
That's
she's
what I'm
looking for
telling you.
that, for the
You look for
viewers,
certain. Sorry.
I was going to say for the viewers, how would you rate tonight's show? 1 to 10. Let us know. While she looks this up.
Okay, let's see. So the very first thing that pops up in the search, I'm going to show it to you guys. It says an interstellar alien ship is hurtling towards Earth. Um, let's see. Okay, this is talking about a
This is an
comet.
asteroid that's in the shape that they believe is not created naturally.
Okay, let me
So they're
scroll down.
saying that they think that it's possibly a probe of some kind from an extraterrestrial
Mm.
society because the shape of the asteroid doesn't appear to match anything that we'd be expecting. It has like unusual characteristics that make it seem as if it could be man or not man-made, but created by entities.
Okay, so yeah, Jimmy, it says between November 21st and December 5th, 2025. So I have not seen that. This is a first for me.
You know what? I like the comment that JG just put up. Seriously, I don't hear any of these topics on CNN. JG, that's because my friend, we are the news now.
Yeah. Okay. So that was really interesting, but we got to shift gears really quickly. It just literally turned midnight, but just give me like 20 more minutes.
Take it
Um,
away, Ruby.
okay, cool, because I got to give it up to Thrifty. She put an update, and I mentioned this last week, but we didn't have time to bring it up. But there is an update on the woman, we talked about this, who allegedly called a child the N word, and we were talking about
Oh
free
yeah,
speech. Okay, so yeah, you remember her. So
yeah.
here's the update about that is that she has been charged with 3 counts of disorderly conduct by the Rochester City Attorney's Office after calling a black child the N-word for stealing from her child's diaper bag. Okay. So that was just quick update about that. If you want to revisit our conversation about that, you're gonna have to go back to season 1 and find it because I have no clue which video it's in. But we already spoke about this. um, okay, now we're gonna shift one more time because we gotta talk about this. If you have not already seen this, let me know in the chat. Have you guys seen the attack that was
Uh,
on the train?
yeah.
Does anybody remember what state this happened in?
North Carolina, Charlotte, hour and a half
Wow.
from it.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah. And we
So
have
then,
a different.
Jimmy, go ahead. Give me since you're there already. Go ahead.
So
Give me your
basically, you have a guy who has been arrested prior 14 times, has been let out every time. We have a Democratic governor here in North Carolina he was pushing for no cash bail, bonds, or whatever. Letting these people just go. I heard on the Right Report this morning there was more detail on this guy. He was mentally ill. His family for years have been trying to get him to get into some type of seek mental help, get him into a program.
institution or something, yeah.
Yeah, the family was pushing for this, but come to find out that the city of Charlotte got a 3.3 million. I want to say million, but something says I'm going to say million, but some grant from a organization that was fighting to keep people from going to jail and basically supporting the criminals. So they got this grant money. So that's a whole nother subject. So this guy should not have been out. And then he goes and stabs this poor woman 3 times in the neck. There's a video showing him after the stabbing, and man, it's heartbreaking, guys. She is literally sitting there. I'm getting chills. In shock, and no one is helping her.
I don't even think they realized what just happened. Like, not even she knew what hit her. She was just sitting there.
She was sitting there and she bled out. And this is the part that kills me. Okay, so you had the whole uproar about Daniel Penny 2 years ago when he went and restrained somebody, and there was all over the media, all over. And the media is not touching this at all because why? It doesn't fit the narrative at all for them. And this stems right here. This goes beyond race. This is what we talked about last week, that there is a mental crisis in this country that needs to be addressed.
And I'm so thankful that we talked about that already, because it's like we don't have to repeat that. You can go back to the other episode and see what we said. And I literally brought that up. It is the root cause. These are just the symptoms, but the roots is the mental health crisis in society that this government is just allowing to just fester. But thank you for bringing that up because it was in the picture. Because the Daniel Penny situation, that man also had mental illness. It was obvious that it was never about race. It was mental health issues. But the media wants to make it about a race thing.
Exactly.
And
Because they don't want to address because they don't want to address the issue. Because if they
don't want to acknowledge it.
Because if they were to address the issue, do you know how many of their agendas would just completely collapse overnight?
Yeah, but they're ignoring it. Like it doesn't matter blue or red, Democrat, whatever. You're still ignoring the problem, and it's not a political problem. It's mental health, and it's a society thing. You should be able to be on the train and not get stabbed. You know what I'm saying? And in America, 2025, we're still dealing with this type of crime. There's a low trust society, and you have to be always looking over your shoulder. And this is America. So go ahead.
I was going to say,
I'm about to go somewhere. Go ahead.
Yeah, at the end of my video, I talked about the different cities that the National Guard was going to go into. Charlotte is one of them.
Good. And I know what's about to happen. It's like they're giving it to Trump right now. You know what I'm saying? Like even if you were against this stuff is happening and you can't defend this. Like, you would not be able to defend Trump not doing something about something. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a proactive president.
I saw a meme because the woman, she is from Ukraine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and the meme said something about where's all those Ukrainian flags that people were putting on their bios? Where's all those flags for this lady? Zero to be seen.
Okay, can we dig a little bit on that because I was gonna go there. So this is the thing. She comes from Ukraine, right? Where there's a literal war going on, and she gets stabbed in a train in in America. What is that? So this is what I said earlier. I said this is why we have to stop this crap. We need to. I don't even care if you legal or illegal. We need to have a hard stop and fix the problems here first. Because how are you trying to seek asylum and you die here? Obviously, it's not a safe place. So why are we like acting as if America is, safe and well and bringing people in here, pretending as if it is safe, and they're dying over here? She probably would have been safer in her own country, honestly, because in
Probably.
America, the exactly like look at what happened to her, basically, right? So I was gonna say that about that, how sad it was, but then there's another angle that I wanted to go because the George Floyd situation, right? Not only was that mental health, but it was like drug induced, and that combination was like that was bound to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they put that video in your face every day for months. They
Mm-hmm.
did riots, they did protests. It was all over the place. It was unavoidable.
Yep.
What do we see with this case? I only see it because people are talking about it in the algorithm on X. I
Yep.
don't watch TV. So,
Yep.
chat, you're going to have to let me know, what are people saying about this? Because this woman, dies like you said, no flags, no, protests for her. What's up with that? Are they going to burn down cities for her? No. But for everybody else, because it fit the narrative, like you said, they're willing to burn down cities and protest and put it all over your face on social media and almost demand that you have an opinion about it and say something about it. Because to the left, silence is complicit. Like if you're like they try to play that card, like, oh, if
Yeah.
you're silent, that's not good enough. You have to be anti whatever.
Right.
And you have to be
Right.
open with it, right? So now this happens to this woman. I hear crickets. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because this
I
is a
don't know.
damn nightmare.
Yeah, it is.
Because you have BLM attacking Ukraine. So
Yep.
there's a no-win situation there. So we have to let it die out as fast as possible because that is suicide for them either way.
Yep.
That's what that is. That's why the media is completely blacked out on it and it only exists in X, is because I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you, if that wasn't a Ukrainian person, there would have been some kind of like she said something or there would have been some kind of reason why he did it and he's a hero.
Right,
Yep.
right. And they're gonna
Yep.
try to play the race card, but I don't see them playing the race card here. I don't know. They want to bring up the all of a sudden they want to bring up the mental health issue. Like, oh, he was just mentally ill. It wasn't racially motivated. But we've been saying that since day one when they wanted to
Mm-hmm.
kind of shift it around, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that was that. And you know what else I noticed just really quickly? The video itself, they don't show you the exact moment the stab goes in. But every other video that I've seen people go crazy about, like George Floyd, for example, and the Daniel Penny situation, they let the public watch every second of that video.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh
with
yeah.
this one, they pause it, they skip it.
Do you think it's because it's a non-American citizen?
No, I don't think so.
No, I think
I
I
think
think
go ahead,
like
Jimmy.
like you said, this hurts their narrative. Either way they
Right.
go.
And it presents as a glitch, but it's like manipulated. Like you could tell it's like they skip over the part, and I could already feel it that they're gonna say, oh, it's too gruesome, so we had to skip it because we don't want to show that on like national television or whatever, right? But when the whole situation was going on with everybody else, they showed you the moment Daniel Penny took that man to the ground. They showed you the moment that Chauvin police officer put him on the ground with the knee and everything. They show you the exact moment.
Yep.
And it wasn't too gruesome for that. Like that was TV okay. That was okay for TV. But why can't I try to see like 3 different videos. Every single one of them doesn't show the exact moment. I don't know. Maybe there is a video that's not manipulated. Let me know, guys. I don't know. But to me, I haven't actually seen an like a raw footage of how many times he stabbed her. What did he do right after? You know what I'm saying? Like you don't see the motion. You don't see anything. All you see is him walk past and she goes like that. Like she's just looking in shock. But you don't know what happened. Like there was a glitch.
Guess we'll keep our eyes open, see if anything comes out.
Yeah, so those were the points that I wanted to bring up about that because I thought that was like really crazy and insane. Let me see. Okay, so everything else obviously we're gonna have to save for next Tuesday. I kind of hate that we always do this. Like we never get to like crunch everything in before midnight
Well, you
because
said you wanted to rant. How long is that going to take you? Do you have to go?
I mean, no and yes because I have to wake up early tomorrow morning. So what do you want to do? Do you want me to save it for next Tuesday
You know
or I
what?
don't know?
I honestly think, I mean, you were excited about doing the rant. So I think you really should do your rant. And then after you're done with your rant, I think we could end the show with that last little funny video I sent you, the little song thing where I said this is the longer version on our Facebook DMs. I think that'll be a good way to end the show. After
Okay,
your
let me
rant and then do the funny song.
let me see first if you even sent me that because
I did send it
I
to you. It's in our messenger together.
okay, let's see.
It's right above the gutter oil ones.
Right above the oil. Okay. With a white guy? Taylor?
Yeah, it's a white.
Here's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
longer
it's a
version.
white.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so go ahead and do your rant and then play that and then we'll end the show.
Okay, guys. So I'm just gonna have it ready here just in case. All right. So here's one thing. If you've been watching me for a long time, you already know how I feel about people in this country who don't assimilate or they're legal or illegal immigrants. You guys already kind of know, like, that doesn't really matter to me. I don't care if you're not American or if you don't speak English, then what are you doing here, right? So that was one of the things that happened to me this week. I guess it was like solicitors or something, and somebody knocked on my door and I opened it. And this woman is speaking to me in Spanish. And I answered, to her back in English. And then she kind of notices, like, oh, you don't speak Spanish? And I mean, she's telling this to me in Spanish. And I told her, no. And then she continues on with her presentation. And I'm still looking at her like, what are you saying? I mean, I understand Spanish because I'm Puerto Rican, but I'm just standing at the door like, I just told you I don't speak Spanish and you're still talking to me as if I understand what you're saying. Like, what if I didn't understand what you're saying? You're just talking to me at the front door like, hello. So I let her finish her thing and then she tells me, oh, so and so. And then she says my last name, like to make sure that she's speaking to the right person. And I'm like, yes, that's my last name. And my last name is a Spanish last name. And then, like I told you, Jimmy, before we started, I'm like, so the stereotype is that just because I have a Hispanic last name, you assumed that I am fluent in Spanish and that I understand what you're saying. But once again, we're just standing here looking at each other clueless because I don't know what you're saying, but you just keep on talking. So after that after that interaction, it really got me upset because we talk about it on the show all the time, but when you're dealing with it in real life, that's where I notice the how annoying it could become. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not anger like angry like that. No, I'm not. I'm just annoyed that you're
Mhm.
at my door. You're in my country. You're trying to sell me something and you can't even speak English? So you're wasting my time here. So what are we doing here? Well, what are you doing here, really, really, what are you doing here? So I wanted to like get that off my chest because we talk about this on the show all the time. We talk about when you come to this country, you should at least know English. When you come to this country, you need to assimilate. When you come to this country, you should be wearing, you should be wearing that American flag on your freaking heart or on your arm or something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
so that was just really annoying for me. But then I want to compare it just really quickly because I got my nails done at the nail salon, right?
Hmm.
And usually they're Asian, right? And they're
Yeah.
speaking their language to one another. Now, here's the difference that I make it how that's not annoying, but this one was because I'm willingly going to their place of business. So, how can I get upset that they're speaking their own language, right? They work there. This is their establishment. I'm coming for a service. As long as the service is good, I got no problem you're speaking in a different language. No problem at all. So, that's what really got me. And when I was at the salon, one of the Asian men was wearing a shirt that had the American flag on the back and said USA.
Oh wow.
And and yeah, I mean, they were full blown Chinese, full blown speaking their language. They would speak little English, to get the information that you need, and it was fine. I wasn't upset. I wasn't annoyed. I wasn't angry. It was perfectly fine. And I loved that he was wearing an American shirt. Like you see how the little things can go so far? And
Yeah.
how these two instances are so different yet so much the same?
You
Like
include
am I tripping? Or like is it me? Or can you understand where I'm coming from?
Well, I think the fact that people that come over to this country, they should be able to speak English and assimilate to the country. We talked last week about the American citizens that died on our highways because of a truck driver that could not speak English, and it cost some people their lives. You can go back and read that story. Um, if you go to another country, you're expected to learn their language. You know, So I can see where it can be a little frustrating, especially that they assumed that you were going to speak Spanish because of your last name. They are assuming that.
Right? Or because of the way I look, like in
But
real
if
life.
you assume something about them
Hmm.
just because, then you would be deemed as a racist.
Thank you. Because I mean, I didn't say anything. I just stood there waiting for English to come sooner or later, but it never did. So that was the
Yeah.
awkwardness. I was like, okay, bye. Like, I
Bo,
can't help you.
You're from Arizona, so I know you have a lot of Hispanic folks down there. What's your take on this?
Well,
Or do you
not
have
speaking
one?
English is so common here, I don't even really notice it. I'll be honest with you.
What was that? I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said it's so common out here in Arizona that I don't even think about it because you go certain areas in Arizona, you just expect them not to speak English.
Wow.
There you go. So it's already normalized. You see, that's a
Yeah.
problem for me. Like, that's an issue. As an American, it shouldn't be normalized. And that's just me. Like, I feel that we already have gone down that road, that slippery slope, that it's irreversible. Maybe, I don't know. But to me, it's just unacceptable. Like,
It
you
goes
should
back.
know.
It goes back to our first episode of this season where we talked about culture wars and how this has been the deep state's plan is to come in. How do you take down a country? You destroy its culture. And by normalizing, like Bo said, everybody's just used to it. That's what they want us to be. They want us to be used to this. No, you should be freaking speaking English in this country. Sorry. Bo should not have to be like, yeah, you go to parts of Arizona, you just expect it to happen. No, that's unacceptable to me.
Right. So that was one thing that I had a real life experience with the things I actually talk about in a ideology perspective on the show, but then I actually dealt with it in real life and I noticed how like annoying it was. And that was the kind of the first time for me, like now that I'm politically awake, that 5 years ago I would have not batted an eye. Like it wouldn't even matter.
Right.
But now that I understand that it's not just surface level things as not knowing English, it's deeper than that. Like we talk about, it's the
Yep.
culture, it's the government, it's the society. It's a slope that you can't come back from, honestly, because America is already like destroyed in that sense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
Go,
anyways,
go. Let's go ahead and
mhm.
play that last clip, and then we'll end the show.
I had one more. I had
Oh,
one
yeah.
more story.
Did you really? I'm
Yeah,
sorry. My bad. I
yeah.
apologize.
So one more rant, guys. I'm so sorry. But I'm only 29 years old. So when I told Jimmy about this survey thing, and I'm gonna
Oh,
explain it
yeah.
because yeah. So let me know in the chat, guys, because you guys are probably older than me. When I was little, like in the 90s or early 2000s, when you provided a service or you had a job or whatever, it was never a requirement for your performance or something to be kind of like graded, or like using a metric system to see how well you did your job or whatever. Like back in the day, it was like, thank you, come again, all right, bye, thank you, and I never see you again. You know what I'm saying? Like that was it. The transaction is over, and you did your job. I got the goods and services. However, the transaction already happened. That's it. Nowadays, every phone call, everything is based on a survey that through 1 through 5, we want you to tell us whether or not the service was you satisfied? Did they answer all your questions? Like, what is that? So I wanted to
Social
leave you
credit
guys with
score.
that. Exactly.
What
Thank
what did
you.
what did he say?
They're preparing you for social credit scores.
Ah,
That's what
there you
it is.
go.
Social credit score.
Oh,
That's what
that's
it
a
was.
good way to look at it.
That's the perfect, because I was looking for
That makes
a
sense.
word or phrase, or like what the heck is that, because I started noticing, like with this new job or just in general, like Uber stuff or any type of service, right? They require you to do that star rating system based on how the customer service was, or like whatever the case may be, right?
I was
And
I was
uh-huh, go ahead.
sorry. I was telling
Mhm.
Ruby when we were having this discussion that even if I go to Biscuitville and get a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, pay for it, they hand me my receipt and say, "Oh, by the way, there's a survey at the bottom of your receipt. We'd love for you to fill it out, and you'll get a free biscuit."
Right. That's another one.
What? Just I don't want to have to do homework when I leave Biscuitville.
Exactly. But also but more importantly, to the person or place, whatever, that is providing the service. Because let's say you get a Karen or something and they rate you wrong, and now your boss has to, talk to you, or a warning, or they dock you, or you could possibly get terminated based on you didn't get enough scores, or you didn't get enough surveys, or whatever the metric system is, and now you're out of a job.
Yep. Yep. That's a
What
good
is
point.
that?
That's a good point, Bo. I like that. That makes sense.
So seriously, I want people to think about that, because this is 2025, and I gotta base my performance level on how somebody else perceives me doing my job, regardless if I did my job right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if I did everything right and you don't get the right score, that still looks bad on you, on your
Yeah.
record
Yeah.
as an employee. Because if you don't work for yourself, you don't have that luxury, right? So,
Yeah.
anyways, that was my rant that I had to deal with this week. It was like those two awakenings that really bothered me. And I'm like, I gotta talk about this.
So
So, mhm.
speak to Ruby in English and don't ask her to take a survey.
Yo, dead ass, because I'm sick and
Even
tired.
though I do ask the audience, hey, how'd you like the show tonight?
I don't do none of that. I don't care if you like it or don't like it. I'ma be me. I don't change for nobody. I don't bend, I don't fold, and I honestly don't care how people feel.
Wow.
Like, is it
That's
just
funny.
I don't know if it's just me or maybe I'm too honest with that fact. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes that could bite me in the butt, right? Maybe I'm too honest, or maybe I'm asking for too much, or maybe I'm not empathetic enough. Like I don't know, but it bothers me, and this is why I have this show is to talk about it.
There you go.
It bothers me. Yeah. Anyways,
But yeah,
yeah.
since we're in a giggly mood, go ahead and play that last clip.
All right, let's play
I
it.
thought you guys would like this.
Yeah, and I haven't seen this either, so I'm watching it live with you guys.
Step right up, got tickets on sale in today's episode. Trains coming off the rails. Watch it all burn from the screen on your phone. But don't you worry about it, you're safe at home. Every talking head will tell you everything's fine. It's the blind leading the blind. Yeah, it's a circus out here, we're wobbling on a wire. There's a lady with a beard, clowns juggling fire. Elephants and donkeys got us jumping through hoops. Y'all wish that I was lying, but you know that is the truth. Get your popcorn ready and pour you something strong. If the world's still spinning, the shit show goes on.
Do you notice, Jimmy, that I kind of do my silliness in the beginning and then you send me stuff and do it at the end?
Yeah.
Because I always kind of surprise you with that kind of stuff, and now you're
Yeah.
surprising me with videos. I like this little tradition that we're
All
doing.
right. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. Well,
Yep.
I'll just say final thoughts. I want to thank the audience. I want to thank John for coming on. Thank Bo for being here this evening. I hope they both come back, share more stuff with us. I've seen somebody in the chat that's got a lot of information that they want to bring out later. A friend, someone that I call a sister of mine. So hopefully I can get her on the show too. But I thought this evening went well. We covered a lot of topics, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thank you all for your support.
Yeah, we really did. So thank you, Bo. Any last words before we end
Yes,
it
I
tonight?
want to thank Jimmy, Ruby. Thank you guys for allowing me a chance to speak on your guys' channels. I really appreciate that. It was really nice meeting you, Ruby, and Jimmy. It's always a pleasure, and enjoy the show, guys.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot more coming, folks.
All right, guys. So we'll see you next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If there's anything, if you're watching this in the future, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you want to talk about anything that's brand new. And I will see you next Tuesday. Thank you, Jimmy, for bringing on John. And, this was really you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be able to pull these kind of people on the show. So I want to thank Jimmy for that
You're welcome.
outreach.
You're welcome.
All
My pleasure.
right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Trump, yeah, okay, bury him a legend, yeah, Trump, hey, okay, America's biggest blessing, free speech advocate, packing, never lacking it, I just bought another gun and ain't nobody taking it, gang, okay, the White House going crazy now, MAGA season, tell them liberals they can't break us down, it's up, they know we run it, best believe